Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning and a very warm welcome to the second day of online workshop on design and implementation of quality management system in universities. Allow me to introduce the first speaker of the day, Mr. Imranullah Khan Marwat, Director Quality Assurance, Higher Education Department, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. Please, you may begin your session.
Ji sir, thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Starting from the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Next, please. Sir, my presentation is regarding the session assigned to me. The topic sent to me is regarding the external quality assurance parameter. What are the standard and what we are doing here, and what are the international practices? So I will just briefly, because just 1 hour is assigned to me. So inshallah, I will try my best to cover the minimum standard regarding the quality assurance. First of all, I will briefly go through the quality assurance with respect to internal quality assurance and what is external quality assurance. Then what are the basic theme, what are the basic requirements while for the external quality assurance as well as for the internal quality assurance. And then the three basic practices which are basically these are basically the initiative of the federal government, either through the HEC or through a federal government in Pakistan, and almost same are practice across the globe as well regarding the first one is the accreditation, which is also external quality assurance. Then we will cover the post-grad program review, which is again the external quality assurance part, and the most important and the last one we will discuss in detail about the institutional performance evaluation standard, which is about the overall institution evaluation with respect to the quality assurance. So I will try my best to cover this. Before going into a detail regarding the internal or external quality assurance, some basic things to be clear before the participant, that whenever why you establish or who are basically establishing universities or higher education institution. So as all of us mostly know that universities or higher education institution are basically established either through a federal charter or through a provincial charter in Pakistan. It may be through an act of the assembly, or if there is emergency, so it can be established through an ordinance. Universities are further governed through their statutes, through their rules and regulations for every affair, to have the overall to have good governance inside the campuses. When we say that universities are established through an act is basically the government authority who basically give you the autonomy that you are now the part of higher education and you will award the degrees, and you can establish any department. You can have the financial autonomy, basically three types of autonomy, or then coming through an act. First of one is the academic autonomy, then the financial autonomy, and then the administrative autonomy. By academic autonomy, we mean that universities can establish any department, they can launch any type of degree programs, but the basic requirement of the HEC or the government should be meet, then they can launch their academic program. Then there is a financial autonomy to the universities. They can expand, use their funds as per their own requirement. They have own bodies. Mostly universities, we are having financial planning committee for this. And then the administrative authority, to whom they appoint, they have own selection board, to whom they assign any responsibility in the administration, either in examination or in the registrar office, in the admission, or in the advanced study research board, or a lot of administrative offices. Then universities, preferably the public sector universities, they have the mechanism of affiliation with the colleges as well. They have been given the proper statute for affiliating any institution. Although across Pakistan, many universities of the private sector also have the authority to affiliate some private colleges with them, but HEC in Islamabad being a federal entity, they basically resist and they don't allow private sector universities to have affiliation. Across higher education, there are a role of Federal Ministry of Education, then provincial HEDs, higher education department have own responsibilities. Basically, vice chancellors, the head of the institution are appointed through a federal ministry or through a provincial department to whom basically the charter was given to the universities. They are basically the administrative department. Basically, higher education are basically like we are saying that academic autonomy, financial autonomy, and administrative autonomy. But for the uniformity, HEC is basically working to have uniformity. Basically, the standard of quality, the standard of academics, every rules and regulation, HEC is basically there. They are basically monitoring. They are basically having the standardization role for the uniformity. So academically, universities are looking for the HEC. Financially, universities are the public sector universities in Pakistan. They are looking toward Ministry of Education or Planning Commission, but the same fund are routed through HEC to the public sector universities. But administratively, they are linked with the Federal Ministry of Education or through provincial higher education departments. Their vice chancellor are appointed by the concerned ministries, their department. So further, the members of academic council, the statute are processed to the chancellor office through these department, either through a Ministry of Education or through a provincial HEDs. Further, academic council, dean appointment, syndicate membership, all these are basically linked through these departments. And overall purpose of whether it's a HEC, it's a HED, or it's a federal government or provincial government, main purpose is to have good governance in higher education institution, to improve academic quality in higher education, to promote research quality in higher education, and to improve the service quality in higher education. This is basically overall purpose. Different offices, universities are basically coordinating with the federal government, with the provincial government, with the colleges. We are basically stakeholders. So the main purpose of higher education is basically this, and they all work as a team. So these are basically some reporting Canada as well. Next, please. Quality. We are dividing basically quality a combination of two parts. One is the academic quality, the other one is the service quality, or we are calling that governance as well. Earlier in Pakistan, practice was just to focus on quality of the teaching within the classroom. The focus was just on the teacher and the student, what they are doing, what teacher is teaching within the class, and what type of curriculum is offered to the student, and what are the assessment procedure. Rest, there was no concentration in this regard. But now, after having almost 15 years of the HEC, especially with respect to quality assurance, and across the globe with the experienced experts, now HEC is also focusing on the services quality, because whenever students are coming to any institute, they are not coming just for the 15 credit hour per semester. It means that student will just study with he or she will be within the class for just 15 hours, but he or she is spending more than 15 hours on the campus. Students are going to the libraries, they are going to the coordinator office, they are dealing with the admission office, they are dealing with the examination system, examination team. Even some students are living on the campus in hostels. So all the things, the teacher will do a best teaching if he or she is having proper infrastructure, if classroom is there, if teacher will do a proper research, if research facilities are there. Then examination, HEC is doing working for the uniformity, but assessment procedure across Pakistan, they are universities are autonomous, but there are a lot of issues in assessment procedure in the examination. Then there are various issues in universities governance, especially in the public sector. There are anomalous committees. There are issues in the even their institutes. Then in the private sector university, there are also many issues. So all these are basically issues which are basically outside the class. And if student and these all issues are basically linked with again the academic quality. student are suffer, teacher are suffer. So service quality is basically pushing the again academic quality, and they are the support material. Next, please. Sir. Yes, before going into the external quality assurance, basically there are external parameter and there are internal parameter. There are different measures which are basically taken by the institution, which need to be improved. And the first one is basically provincial government. These are the parameter when we are saying that these are the external measure. Universities, as we are discussing earlier, that universities are autonomous, so they have own statutes, they have own act, they have own rules and regulations, and they are governed by these. But provincial government or the federal government or the HSE, basically they are issuing guidelines from time to time. They are sending the policies to the universities to make a part of these standards. And these are the like a chancellor is issuing any directive. Different SOPs like we are having recently, like every university's health department or our federal government NCOC is issuing SOPs for the COVID. So, but all these are what? All these are just guidelines. They have no basically directly. They can't be implemented on the universities directly. But these are just either the guidelines or the policies matter. But same will be placed before universities management, like board of governor or in such a syndicate meeting, and then after they put of these bodies, some it will be a legal guardian, and this is the internal matter of the university. Mostly these bodies are chaired by the vice chancellor. Only the board of trustees or the senate meeting is basically chaired by the chancellor of the universities. So for the universities, basic thing when we are saying that the bible of the universities are basically the act, and then the statutes which are basically governing are the main rules and regulation of the institute. Next, please. In a higher education, whether it's the internal quality assurance or the external quality assurance, these are basically different. The education system basically is accountable to the various stakeholders. Like whether you are a private sector institution or you are a public sector institution, but you are accountable to the judiciary. Local session judge or civil judge can call any university officer or the teacher. Higher court, we are having a high court system, we are having the Supreme Court system. In Pakistan, for the judiciary, they can call university, they can call university administration or top management for any matter if somebody is asking or giving any appeal to the judiciary. Chancellor is basically asking from time to time to the university for having the good governance and everything. Provincial assembly, the federal assemblies, the National Assembly, or there are standing committees of the federal government as well as the provincial government, which are basically asking you, and university top management is basically responsible, they are accountable to these committees. Then the public account committee, they are asking for the financial management. The universities are all responsible. Then the HEC basically playing the role of basically it's a regulator, but if we are saying practically, then HEC is just an advisory body, and they are just for the standardization and uniformity. So role of HEC is also big. Auditors are coming, internal auditor, external auditor, they are visiting again regarding the financial management. HED, the provincial department, they are asking about from the university from time to time for various policies, for various matters. And the most important is the civil society, the public, the media, they are asking. Nowadays, we are having print media, electronic media. There are various the print media, social media, electronic media. So we are responsible to them, and they are asking for any type of information. We are accountable to the civil society in this way. Student can ask the main stakeholder in the higher education is basically the student, then their parents, and then the faculty member. They can ask. We are accountable to them. Then either a federal government or the provincial government both have passed the bills that any Pakistani can ask about any type of information from the universities or from a higher education sector. There is a bill we are saying that right to information, in which you will have to give every document. And Same is the case with the ombudsman, either a federal ombudsman or the provincial ombudsman. They are asking you for various information whenever somebody is appealing against the institution, and then university's management is basically they are providing them the information. From the last 2-3 years, we are having Prime Minister Citizen Portal where people are complaining there with minor issues, but again, university management how to reply because it's thing with the federal government, then to the provincial government. So it's all about the transparency as well, that everything is going on as per real split, and there is no any issue in it. Next, please. With respect to quality assurance, when we are saying that HEC basically the custodian or HEC is the main body which is basically working for the quality assurance in higher education. In HEC, basically there are two offices, two agencies, or two main directorates we can say. One is the quality assurance division, and one is quality assurance agency. But under the basically commission is the highest forum of HEC, which is basically making policy. Like we are having, in universities we are having syndicate or board of governors, but the highest form of HEC is basically commission. And actually, again, I am representing the commission from the KP government side as well. So commission is the one who makes policy for all Pakistan as well as for the HEC internal governance. Then there is a committee we are calling the National Quality Assurance Committee, which make policies for all quality matters pertaining to higher education, and they are basically making these policies. And then under the umbrella of National Quality Assurance Committee, QED is there, and QAAC. Quality Assurance Division is the department which basically make policies or the approval of the National Quality Assurance Committee. They are circulating academic guidelines, research guidelines, plagiarism policies, TTS faculty, journal recognition policy. They are circulating these are the policies division which basically circulated to the universities from time to time. The other one is the Quality Assurance Agency, and Quality Assurance Agency is the one who basically deals QEC's offices. The various offices of QEC established across Pakistan in various universities. They are basically dealt by the Quality Assurance Agency, and QEC are basically they are part of internal quality assurance within the campuses, within the higher education sector in Pakistan. QECs are the part of internal quality assurance within the campuses, but QA is also working for the external quality assurance, which is basically today our topic. And as we discussed, there are various council. In the next slide, we will have such council as well. So accreditation council, we are having different mechanism of external quality assurance. So basically, the quality assurance agency, they are working for the external quality assurance as well. So next is so that we can move properly to the. This is basically the structure of QAA. As I explained earlier, that internal quality assurance basically dealt with the QCs, and QCs are the part of internal quality assurance. And in QCs, the main two tasks assigned to the universities are basically the self-assessment and the feedback mechanism. Other guidelines are also dealt by the QECs, but these are the basic items. These are the basic functions. Then, with respect to external quality assurance, there are basically three practices which we are doing here in Pakistan, and almost same like accreditation council. These are the councils which are established by the government to check the quality of specific programs. They are not working for every programs or every institution. Then HEC basically main difference between internal quality assurance and external quality assurance is that internal quality assurance practices are dealt only that these are managed within the campus and nobody is coming from outside. It's like just an internal audit. When we are saying finance or in account system, we are having the internal audit of the institution. Same is the case here. QBCs are basically the part of internal quality assurance. They are just like internal audit. But in the external quality assurance, we are calling all these practices, it's like just external audit. We are also calling them the academic audit of the university or academic audit of the higher education institution. It means simply that in internal quality assurance, no one from outside is coming. It's all internally managed. Properly policies are approved from the university top management or to institutes, and then they are implemented with the spirit of quality assurance. But in an external quality assurance, some team from outside, it's mostly like a peer review, but again, it's an academic body. Somebody from outside, they are coming to the university to review your academic program. They can see your internal management. They can review your academic as well as the non-academic management. And in these external quality assurance, the first one is the accreditation council, in which specific programs are there. They are working in own areas, like we are having Pakistan Engineering Council, Pakistan Medical Commission, Pharmacy Council. In next slide, we will have inshallah this council established by the federal government or through an HSC. Then HSC Quality Assurance Agency, as we discussed earlier, that the external quality assurance, HSC Quality Assurance Agency, they are sending you a team of people, mostly a peer review, some experts from other universities. A team of people are coming, we are reviewing the university's MS and PG program. We are calling that a postgraduate program review, PGPR, postgraduate program review. And the other one is to review overall institution. We are calling them the institutional performance evaluation, which is basically reviewing overall management from your integrate till the end to the academic, to the every facilities that you are having, to the academic and as well as to the administration. They are reviewing everything. And in colleges, we are having MQS. IPE is for basically for the institute performance evaluations for the universities, but for the in institutional performance in colleges, when we are saying whether it's a affiliated college of the private sector or the other one, so we are calling that a minimum quality standard. And again, before going into the external quality in detail, standard is basically a measurement, so in which we are doing everything. Quality is measured through a standard. When you are having a proper standard, then you can evaluate. Like in personal life or in real life, we are having different scales for everything. Like the first one is like the screen is not shown here. So, sir, so you are moving forward.
सर यहाँ पर थे आप? This is the place.
नहीं sir. Sir,
Next slide.
please back करें sir. Yes, we were here sir. Next
Okay.
please sir, इसमें. Sir, basically this is a quality assurance framework which are basically practiced across Pakistan, even across the globe. As I explained earlier that for every quality tool, we need to have criteria and standard. These are the base through which we are measuring the quality. And in internal quality assurance, now QCs are properly established. They are doing the internal quality management in the higher education setup. Even in colleges, we have established QCs. HEC is also pushing universities to have quality setup in colleges. And now the most important is the external. It's the time for the quality assurance, external quality assurance system. Universities are preparing their various reports. HEC is sending various teams, and like auditor councils are coming, accreditation council are coming. They are reviewing different universities. So it's all about the external quality assurance management, and all the universities are striving to show that academic quality of education is they are functioning as per the requirement or the remember HECs are being or the councils which basically work for the quality assurance. They are always giving you a minimum guideline. For maximum, it's the QAAC, it's the university internal setup who will try their best to perform or to enhance the quality of the system. Council will give you a minimum guideline. Like in examination, when we are saying that 2 GPA as the passing, the minimum CGPA for the award of any degree. In school, we are having 33% passing marks criteria for the award of any certificate. Same is the case here. HECs are giving us, the council are giving us a minimum guideline, minimum threshold. But it's the internal management of the universities to how to go, how to excel that standard. Next, please. Sir. Before, yes, one, whether it's internal quality assurance or it's external quality assurance, every quality needs some basic documents. Like when we are searching for the ISO, earlier ISO was not working in the education sector, but recently they have own standard education quality as well. So we need some basic documents which basically should be either in a soft form or either in a hard form, but there should be a proper governance. In universities across Pakistan, we need that these documents are not basically properly available. So now HEC is pushing in these that in the semester system, when we are saying that since almost all the education across Pakistan, higher education is now on semester based, so everything should be recorded. When we are saying about the quality, then we have to record everything. And these are the four basic file system. It's a part of basically a good governance. And these are again the minimum guideline. And these are basically the semester system policies which will be implemented, which need to be showed whether you are talking about the internal quality assurance or about the external quality assurance. The first one is the program file. Program file simply means program file of each academic program, which when you are offering, when you are launching any program, you must document, you must keep everything as per the record. And again, there is a checklist I will show slightly for what are the main items of the program file as well. Then in the course file, again, each for single course, you have to record everything. What are the scheme studies approved by the university management, or by the academic council or top management? And then contents, what type of assessment you are doing, what type of quizzes you are doing, or you are taking from the student. And then in universities, we have seen that faculty files, the registrar office or the HR department, they are mostly keeping the personal record from data department till the retirement or till they remain a part of the institution. But from the quality perspective, we need just academic profile of the faculty members when they are teaching, whether these are faculty members or they are coming up for the part-time teaching in the institution. So insurance need that these must be like highest degree of the faculty should be there. Their joining or a formal letter of the in the campus, if they are coming as a part-time, then their contract letters, contract formal letters should be there. What are the workload assigned to them and what type of supervision he or she is doing. It's about the all about the faculty file. The fourth one is again the most important. The student file are maintained in the admission of it, there is separate file. In the examination, they are keeping separate file of the student file, and then the degree or the control examination, they are keeping the separate file of the student. But quality assurance basically focuses on the academic side. There's all these parameters, whether it's a program file, it's a course file, it's a faculty file, the student file, they must be kept in department. It's not should be with the main administration. And these are basically so that for the self-assessment, whether you are doing the internal quality management or somebody from outside is coming for the external quality assurance review, whether it's a council review, whether it's a postgraduate program review, or it's a IP, then you have to you can show easily these files to the university, to the team coming to your institution. Next, please, sir. These are basically the next 2-3 slides about the what are the contents of the program file. Inshallah, Dr. Mansa will share with you. I think no need to explain to you. Almost every participant is well aware of this. So just I'm giving go ahead. Program file is basically this is a main checklist. Like what is the name of program, when the program was basically approved by the university. These are the course file. So sir, I think it's better to skip that. We will share the presentation with you people, and these checklists are almost available. But just I was focusing that you should remember that this is the base. Whether you are doing the internal quality management or you are talking about the external quality assurance management, but you must keep this file with you. This is a faculty checklist. We don't need any medical report. We don't need any leave record of any teacher. So these are the basic. Coming to the main our session regarding the external quality, as I already explained that external quality assurance basically complement the other side of the quality pyramid. It is of the following 3 major areas. Basically, again, it's the external quality management where these 3 are the main portion where a team of people are coming to your university. They are like a peer review. HEC is not sending everyone from own people, just 1 or 2 representative from HEC team is there, or whether it's a council, so just 1 or 2 members are coming from the various council, but rest of basically mostly the faculty members are the top management of any universities or institution, and then they are going across Pakistan. The first one is the accreditation council, the other one is a postgraduate program review. They are reviewing your MPhil and PhD program, and the last one is again they are reviewing overall institution. For the universities, we are having the IP mechanism, institution performance evaluation, and for the colleges, we are having minimum quality standard for the colleges. Next, please. Purpose of our major goals of accreditation worldwide, what we are practicing are the first one is the quality assurance. The purpose of accreditation or the goal of accreditation is that public, the student, the government employer, they trust you. When you are having accreditation or recognition from any council, that yes, these are up to the mark. They are meeting the minimum requirement of any council, and they are up to mark, and the quality is basically maintained. One thing is quality maintenance. One is basically the other is enhancing. I think enhancement is a continuous process, but maintaining quality is also a big challenge. When you are achieving any standard and you are up to the mark, but maintaining that quality a big challenge. So for the public, for the student, for all the stakeholders, you have to ensure that yes, we are doing our best as per the guideline of concerned council. Accountability, it ensures that yes, we have the mechanism to share accountability of the institution. You are doing everything as per practices, as per the procedure, as per either national or the international practices are the standard. Again, as I will explain that these council, or whether it is HEC or the council, they are giving you a minimum guideline. So the institution must meet the minimum standard to be able to operate. Whenever you are not meeting the minimum level of quality, then they can't give you a certification, or they can't give you accreditation letter, etc., and you can't basically work without the council. And the most important of the council or the accreditation is employer confidence, because when students are going into the market for the job, they are expecting your degree when you have accreditation. And even in Pakistan, there are council without, if student or your student are not registered with that, they can't even work in a public sector offices. They can't work in a government offices. So employer basically, these are the trust of the employer as well, that yes, we have Pakistan Engineering Council graduates, we have Pakistan Medical Commission graduates, so they are basically preferring these students. Next, please. These are the various councils basically established by the federal government. Just to give you the highlight, there are basically 9 councils which are basically existing currently in Pakistan, and these are mostly through a federal chartered, like Pakistan Bar Council. They are working for the law discipline like LLB. Remember, all these councils. These are the 9 councils established by the federal government, and there are 5 councils again established by HEC. I already explained, presented same in quality assurance under the umbrella of QAAC. I presented there that there are various councils. So 5 councils are now established by the HEC. These is basically teacher education, agriculture, computing council, have business education, and then the National Technology Council. And these are established by the HEC, and 9 councils are established by the federal government. But all these 14 councils, they are working for the undergrad, they are working for the 16-year and below education. They are not working for the MPhil and postgraduate program. I think out of these 14, just 1 or 2 may work for your MPhil degree, but preferably they are not looking into higher education, which are basically research-based degrees. They are basically working for the to streamline the undergrad education. All these, whether it's a 16-year education or 17-year education, like Pakistan Bar Council is looking for the law discipline, which is basically a 17-year education. Then medical, it's also a 5-year degree. So the rest are 16. So they are working in their field. And they have own, they are again, they have own SOPs, they are having own standards. They have 0 visits, then they are coming for the first time, it's called a 0 visit, and then they are giving you a proper documentation, orientation, and then you are going for the other tasks. And then if you are meeting their minimum requirement, they will give you a certification. Yes, this institute program is accredited. And personally, I like the first, the Pakistani council is the one council who adopted a good practices out of all these councils. They are, mashallah, doing excellent job. They have adopted the Washington Accord policies for all engineers across Pakistan. They are working for the OBE now. So all institutions which are under the umbrella of PEC, all programs, they are lucky to have such management. Next, please. For the postgraduate, like we were discussing, the council now coming to the postgraduate program review. HEC Quality Assurance Agency, again, it's a peer review visit. They are conducting visits to various universities for reviewing their MPhil and PhD program. So the most important this thing which HEC is basically, the quality assurance team is basically demanding in this, that minimum guideline for HEC for lunch and PhD program. First one, currently the practice is that you must have at least 2 PhD in relevant discipline before launching any discipline in the relevant field. Then there should be at least 3 PhD faculty members in any discipline which you are offering in the university. Then there is NOC requirement from November 13. There is a requirement that whenever you want to launch any discipline, MS and PhD program, you must have to obtain NOC prior to launching of MS and PhD program. Earlier it was a long process, but now HEC has make it more simple, and now just through an email you will send every document, and then HEC will review that through some committees, and then they will give you as NOC if you are meeting again the minimum requirement of the HEC. Then internal supervisor education, earlier it was a big challenge, but now HEC has strictly restricted that supervisor in the MS and PhD must be the internal faculty member of the institution. Otherwise, no one can go for the external supervisor. And then HEC preferred, again, the quality assurance people prefer to have at least post PhD 3-year experience. Then he or she can become a supervisor for the MS and PhD program. HEC basically further requirement is the implementation of MS and PhD policy that you must recently HEC has made a PhD revised policy, but it is practically extended up to June 22. And let's see what's happening. But earlier it was a direct admission from the BS to the PhD. Some people were supporting that, but some people were resisting. So currently HEC has basically extended that. Then in the PhD thesis, a main issue of the thesis evaluation is basically that you must send thesis to advanced countries. HEC has its own country list, which are basically advanced in their subjects. So HEC has issued such a list, and the thesis of the PhD scholars should be evaluated from these countries. So the inside the campus, they are basically ASRB, or we are calling Bassam Board of Advanced Studies and Research, which basically approve these faculty member list. They are living, they are working in these advanced countries, and thesis of the student are basically sent to these countries. Then there is a student-teacher ratio in MS PhD. HEC basically restrict that policy that a maximum of 12 students can be supervised by any PhD faculty member. MS faculty member, those faculty member who are having just MS degree, they can just supervise MS student up to 5. If he or she is having 4 year experience, then such MS faculty member can supervise 5 students for the MS or master degree program. But for the PhD faculty member, there is a ratio of maximum 12, in which 5 can be a PhD faculty member, PhD student, and 7 can be a MS or the master 18 education student. But the ratio of MS can be increased from 7 up to 12, depending upon the number of PhD student enrolled or supervised by the student. Let's suppose if there is a requirement, if any teacher is having 2 PhD faculty members, then he or she can supervise up to 10, depending upon the number of PhD supervised by the teacher. So the main check is on this. To a minimum requirement of 2 and 3 PhD faculty members, then student teacher ratio is properly must to be maintained by the institution. Then after the review, or for the oral review, when HEC team is coming, they are basically giving you 3 type of report on single program of any MS and PhD program. If you are meeting all the requirements, you are maintaining the student teacher ratio, you are having the minimum requirement, you are having NOC, you have supervisor policy, you have advanced country policy, then HEC is giving you the okay status that yes, go ahead, your emission are at par our expectation, and go ahead, we have no issue with you, and you can offer any type of admission. Keep that you have to maintain student teacher ratio. Another other status of the visit on any program is further intake staff. The further intake staff simply mean that yes, you are having minimum requirement of 2 PhD for the MS and 3 PhD for the PhD. You are having all the parameters, you are maintaining, you are having the NOC, you are having the internal supervisor, but your student teacher ratio is not maintained. You have crossed the student teacher ratio beyond 12. So they are giving you the status of further intake staff, and it means that till your program have student teacher ratio, till your student teacher ratio is balanced, till that you cannot offer a new intake, you cannot offer new admission. When your student teacher ratio is stable and you are having vacant seats for the admission for the students, for the scholar, then you can launch this program. But faculty further intake staff is basically when your program is stopped by the HEC, Quality Assurance Agency, then you will have to get approved from the HEC again that yes, now we are having the proper student teacher ratio, and they may come to your institution, or they may just accept your letter, and then they are giving you an issue of letter, and they are changing your status from further intake staff to a okay status, and then you can offer any discipline. The most threatening one is basically the halted status. Halt status simply means that you are not having the minimum requirement of 2 PhD for the MS and 3 PhD for the faculty member for the PhD program, and then you are not having minimum the requirement of like there may be the issue of NOC, or there may be other issues of supervision, etc. So then halt means that whatever student you have enrolled, how much student you have enrolled, you cannot conduct any exam, you cannot conduct any defense, you cannot send your thesis to anyone, and your program will be stopped till you meet the minimum requirement of the HEC. Again, through a compliance, or let's suppose if you HEC is giving you the status of halt, then you will apply properly to the HEC that yes, your program are halted by you, by the HEC, but now we are having the minimum requirement, and please come and review our programs, they may give you the letter, or they may come again, or they may just accept your document, and on the basis of your document, they may allow you to go for the further intake either through a OK status or through a further intake stop. Then you will your current enrolled student will continue. Otherwise, in further intake stop, you cannot have further admission for the student. And same is continues always. Then through a compliance, HEC is giving you the direction that yes, what we have notified you, what we have issued to you, and what are the compliance, what are the implementation in this regard. So compliance is a continuous process between the universities and quality assurance team of the HEC. So this is all about the postgraduate program review. Next, please. The most important is basically, like we were discussing earlier, the council's working, accreditation council. Then we discussed the postgraduate program. Now coming to the institution performance evaluation. Institution performance evaluation is again the most important item, the most challenging task assigned to the QAACs or to the university management, that with the help of IP, quality assurance just is reviewing your overall university or institution. So it's basically IP, institutional performance is basically it's a status as well as it's the process. It should provide a public certification of acceptance, acceptable minimum quality, as well as opportunity and incentive for self-improvement in the quality providing higher education institution. It's basically again satisfaction or it's a certification that yes, when HEC is reviewing or a team of experts is coming to your university, they are giving you a certification that yes, you have all the good practices, you are meeting every aspect, you are up to the mark. So it's a certification as well as satisfaction. And the other one is, it is basically for the self-improvement. They will review your governance, they will review your statutory bodies working, they will review your academic planning, they will review your financial management, they will review your academic review planning, and they meet the student, they meet the all the stakeholders, the faculty, they meet the administration. So it's basically for the self-improvement. HEC is just an advisory body, but nowadays there is a race between the institution. So IP is basically giving you all the direction where you are going and what should be the right way for the universities or for to the top management. It is to be understood that an institution may be stronger than other with the compliance of IP evaluation status. When your review is done, it helps you, it gives you more direction in every aspect. So you can work more in a good way. Next, please. HEC basically they are reviewing individual institution periodically based on performance evaluation standard. Again, there are 11 standards. I will show into the next slide. Then there is a mechanism that before reviewing through the team of quality assurance of the HEC, better to have self-IP. Same is the case for the self-postgraduate program as well. That you can have self-program review, that first review it by internal committee, and then HEC or the quality assurance team will come. Same is the case here, that internal self-review can be conducted by the institution, and HEC basically recommend that at least one external evaluator should be a member of this committee so that he or she can review your program and they can assist you in their expert view. Next, please. So, basically, for the institute performance evaluation, universities have basically required two types of data. One is university-wise data. We are calling that basically a UPR, and then there are 11 standards, and basically it's all linked with the internal management of the university. So these are the standard, and up to the standard you will report as per. There are basically question and session, and universities are basically submitting such report, and overall it's called basically a UPR. Then for the visit day, for a visit, or again there are basically two types of data required. One is for preparing IP report, like on the standard or in earlier we discussed university-wise data. You have to submit such reports in a soft, either in a or in a hard form to the HEC. But there are document evidence. The HEC team, when HEC team will come, they will review all the documents is for the standard, and they are asked to be placed inside the committee or in the room whenever HSC team or the peer review team is coming to review your institution. So, but these are the mostly hard copies available in your, like in registrar office. They may review your examination, they may review your academic affair, they may ask you to bring syndicate meeting minutes, they may ask you to bring a finance and planning committee meeting, they may ask for the selection board record, and universities are doing what? They are placing all such record in a one place, and the team is coming, they are just reviewing this document, but they are not taking any document outside the institution. They are just reviewing, and just the IP report can be taken, the report which they have submitted, it can be submitted. They can be for the study. University-wise data for the UPR is mostly basically a combination of academic and non-academic summary type data, which are basically department and academic program-wise student faculty ratio. Then for each department, the average number of students per class, total enrollment of full-time students in undergraduate program and in graduate program, number of application, and the number of students enrolled in undergraduate and graduate program. They are basically studying the ratio. Then retention rate from first to second, second from third, and so on. In the undergrad, same continue for the postgraduate program. Then department-wise, designation-wise, number of full-time faculty as well as the part-time faculty member. And then the IP basically need the program and course semester-wise credit hours for each academic program. And basically, it's up to the they are basically reviewing either to the council requirement or the HSC requirement, whether you are meeting the minimum requirement of a award of any degree or not. Next, please. Sir. These are basically the 11 standard on which the report is basically prepared. The first one is mission statement and goals, then planning and evaluation, organizational governance, integrity, faculty, student, institutional resources. Look, these are the standard. These are basically the question and answer session in which different documents are required. But in the question, universities are basically submitting their compliance that what we are doing in this. You see, demanding the manual is basically demanding documents, and universities are basically preparing their replies, just compliance, and then the documentary proof. Let's suppose the registrar office minutes or financial planning committee minutes or any academic program. These documents are placed on the visit, not required for the these report, but universities are just mentioning these standard report in a written report, and they are submitting to the HST. Next, please. Then this IP team working, when such teams are coming inside the campuses, whether it's a council meeting, they are coming. They are, I mentioned here it's the IP team, but basically it's a general review. Whenever external quality assurance team is coming, whether it's a accreditation council team, it's a postgraduate program review, or it's IP, they are meeting with the top management, like vice chancellor or director. Then mostly a presentation is given by the top management or oral review, brief presentation. They are reviewing your main documents. Then they visit to the academic and non-academic departments. They are meeting with the chairman in charge. They are meeting with the faculty. They are visiting the libraries. They are visiting your various resources, facility available to the student and faculty. And then they are compiling basically report, the initial report before leaving the institution. And the just like the initial meeting, they are having exit meeting with the vice chancellor or the top management, that what are the main findings. And officially a report is submitted later on to the HEC, and then HEC is basically submitting to the university top management. Next, please. Sir. Final report is basically in the all procedure, whether it's a council, it's the postgraduate program review, report are submitted to the HEIs by the HEC or by the council for further process. Universities are doing practices that you must place these recommendations before your top bodies, statutory bodies, whether it's a syndicate or senate or the board of governors, for its approval and future direction. Then implementation plan are again prepared by the university on these, and then compliance is taken, the action taken against IP report. Maximum time limit is also given by the university management, that up to what time you will basically cover all these. Basically, all these are basically the SWOT analysis. Whether it's a IP, it's a PhD program review, it's a MPhil program review, or it's an accreditation council. All these are basically a SWOT analysis. It will identify the strong areas. They will identify your weak areas, and then what will be the way forward to have good governance and good quality education on the campuses. Next, please. These are the general challenges that quality is always resisted by the faculty member. They feel extra burden of the additional work, collection and analysis of data and preparation of various reports. They are having the fear of self-exposure or the accountability. Then in team, we are having limited resources. They are basically the quality assurance team. Every department is assisted by the program or assessment team member. There is a time constraint. They are demanding, like in Pakistan, we are having the financial issues across Pakistan for the institution. So faculty member basically pointing for the teaching and research, but lack of the incentive for the PT members or assessment team. Then there are lack of resources like human resources or financial resources. Then we are having the lack of proper feedback culture in our society. Next, please. Again, the most challenging one is half-hearted or no cooperation of junior faculty and staff, exposing the weak areas in our own department, collective collection of requisite information, then its analysis. Lack of administrative and financial support to the QAAC is the main challenge in higher education in Pakistan. Lack of students' interest in providing realistic feedback. They don't concentrate on giving the feedback. They are considered just a paper. They are considering just it as a paperwork. Then there are some performers which need to be revised. They are the substandard or they are complicated. Even some irrelevant questions are there are some ambiguous questions which basically exist in the performance, and basically HCC has given you the authority to customize that, but universities are not focusing on these, and they are just using these ambiguous performance. Next, please. These are the challenges to the again with the higher education. We are having the lab issues, we are having equipment. If we are available, then we have no proper HR, we have no personnel in this regard, technical know-how of this department. Then teacher training is basically the most important. It's a big challenge that we are sending direct fresh PDs are basically giving the lecture by the teacher that yes, now you are a teacher, and then just go for the class and teach to the student. Then political interference across higher education, even by the politician of our governments, and even then by the political groups within the faculty members, even among the students. And it's a big challenge. They don't want a good governance, or they don't want good quality assurance mechanism, and it's a challenge. Policies are there in Pakistan, written policies are there, but main challenge is in higher education is policies implementation. Policies are violated. Minimum guidelines are not met by the institution. And then the main challenge in higher education is also that administrative tasks are assigned to the faculty members. Faculty members are basically appointed for the teaching and research, but they are heavily burdened. They are already teaching 12 to 15 credit hours, then they are doing supervision, they are doing the research, but along with this, they are given the assignment of the additional charge. So it's a big challenge in higher education. Next, please, sir. Sir, it's all about my presentation. These are the just some references for your information. And now I am ready to for a takes from so audience from the participant side. If any question is there, I am ready. I will try my best to cover.
So you are willingly asking to be bombarded.
Yes, most welcome.
So, well, the challenges that you put up and portrayed, these are truly the very hectic activities when it comes towards the completion of the SARs and IP and program review elements. And truly, in those stages, we have seen that all the faculty members become academic clerks, and they have to do a lot of work in this regard. These challenges are there, no doubt, and there is no easy way out. What is your preference for the composition of those program review teams that we develop for each program that is under the review as self-assessment? Mostly people, I have seen that they give this task to the junior faculty.
don't you think that the senior person should be there to guide them properly?
Yes, basically it's the responsibility of the head of the department. It's the chairman responsibility, whether they are program team member, but all is done basically under the supervision of head of the department. The chairman basically they are responsible. Whenever you are offering any program, you are under the umbrella of they are basically representing the chairman. And if they are assigning this responsibility to the junior faculty member, it means the chairman is not serious about the quality simply. So it should be to the senior management and then to the junior. But junior will learn, but senior should be there in a team member.
The next I wanted to ask that is there, did we get the clarity regarding the 3 PhDs requirement for PhD program and simultaneously they being acceptable for the MS program as well?
From my side, yes, and I will raise same question in commission, inshallah. In the next, we have submitted already in a written form to the HSC. Inshallah, we will revise it because it's not a single man show. All universities, the HSC, they are bound to the commission policies, and same or practice across Pakistan. And with the 3 faculty member of the PhD faculty member, it should be acceptable to all, whether you are offering the MS program or it's a PhD program. So since I am part of the HEC commission since the last 2 years or now almost 3 years, so no such agenda is stable on the commission agenda for the meeting. So there is no such policy. And inshallah, if there is, we are here. Inshallah, we will defend our previous stance.
Right, sir. I'll open the floor to the participants if they have a question to ask. So they may please raise your hand.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Nauman.
Sir.
Dr. Zaid is here.
Sir, welcome, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you very much for a very comprehensive and valuable presentation by Dr. Imran Saab. So I have a question regarding the accreditation and something like that, the overall sustainability of the private sector. Since we are working in a private sector, so sometimes we have a bit deviation from the standards. Yes, we can consider that this deviation is not acceptable. But in case of any simple like minor deviations from the standards, so what would be your stance regarding the flexibility and the acceptability, specifically in the private sectors? I have seen that in the government sectors, you are more flexible than the private sectors. So what would be your official answer in this connection?
Sir, from my side, I will just say that yes, I accept, and same is even when we are talking about the affiliation. When we are doing any affiliation to the public sector colleges, the criteria is a little bit relaxed and we are facilitating them. But when we are talking about the private sector, we are giving them more restriction, we are putting them more proof and other things. We want different proof from them. And yes, from the council side, I can say that the various councils, not about the affiliation, like Pakistan Union Council, it's about the medical council. These are the councils which are working for in a professional, especially with the Pakistan Union Council. They have no differentiation between the private and in a public sector higher education setup. But there are universities in private sector which are basically even not adopting the minimum requirement. They are using different shortcuts in this way. But in the public sector, mostly people are not hiding anything and they are asking, yes, council side, they have a little bit relaxation as yet. But criteria is the same. And many universities of the private are much better performing than in the public sector universities. Especially, I will say that the universities which are established recently in last 10 years in the public sector, they are not performing well, and their criteria of affiliation.
Exactly, sir. Exactly, sir.
And those other universities which are established earlier, they are working in a more better way.
Thank you, sir. Very good answer.
Thank you very much, Imran Saab. I'll request you on a personal capacity because I know you are managing your own session today, and there you have a closing for it. But because we have another section in line, I would request you personally to, if you may, please join us around 12:30, and all those who are having a number of questions in line for you, we will ask them to write them down, and upon rejoining by Mr. Imranullah Marwat Saab, sir, we would like you to come back, join us at 12:30 for a closing ceremony, as well as we will take these questions because two of the resource persons are waiting for their section. So that's a personal request.
I don't think, excuse me, if I may interrupt, I'm Dr. Zohar Bazi. I don't think Imran Saab will regret to answer the question I will ask. Imran Saab, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Honestly speaking, I'm always fortunate enough to listen to you, and I don't miss any opportunity while you are delivering any sort of presentations. So I'm honored. I'm honored. I always learn so many things from you. Apart from this, I just want to know, since you are part of the Higher Education Commission, it's the apex body. So there is maybe I'm wrong, there is a sort of turmoil going on in HEC, and the situation regarding the leadership in Higher Education Commission is not quite certain. So since you are well acquainted with everything and you are part of that apex body, Higher Education Commission, you are a member of it. So please do update us what's going on there and what we can expect for the normal situation in the coming days. Thank you very much, Imran sir.
It's a big challenge. It's basically all leading to the destruction and higher education. It's leading to the destruction. If beyond the, in a case, I will say it's a tussle between some personalities. It's not a good thing. Even the chairman is restored after 10 months, and now he has just waiting 2 to 3 months up to May. He has his tenure. So till May, I'm not today. Even the chairman is coming to Peshawar. I think even I'm sitting now right now. I'm sitting in University of Peshawar. We are having session for the, and he is coming to the Peshawar University Teacher Association. I think they are hosting some past, future, and current status of higher education. As chairman, he plan to visit Peshawar University, but till he is here, there is a tussle between the government and the chairman. And again, it's not a good for the higher education. All leads basically to the destruction. Universities affair are deadly suffered. 15 billion rupees are there. Federal government has promised extra release recently, but this is basically commission. When a commission, the chairman receiver restored in recently in January, there was a meeting the formula for making policy distribution of funds of these 15 billion, and it was stuck. Now there is no policy, there is no meeting, there is inside a big issue. So let's hope for the best. We can pray that the condition of the the HEC should come stable, and it will be a good gesture for the education then. But so far, not a good things are coming.
Thank you very much, Imran Saab. I'm looking forward to have you around 12:30 again.
Inshallah. Thank you, Mr.
Allah Hafiz, sir. Now for the next session, I warmly welcome Dr. Bassam Alhamad. Bassam, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Yes, hello everyone.
Ahlan wa sahlan.
أهلا وسهلا مرحبتين.
كيف حال؟
الحمد لله رب العالمين. بك.
Well, that was all of the Arabic that we can speak. Allow me to introduce Dr. Bassam Alhamad. We are very grateful to you for sparing time. Dr. Bassam Alhamad is having a PhD in chemical engineering. He's a director of Quality Assurance and Accreditation, member of NQF Advisory Board, and international expert and evaluator in quality. Belongs to Bahrain, working and serving University of Bahrain, and we would be learning how they are managing the quality management system in their university, and we would be very grateful to learn from his knowledge and his expertise. So, sir, the floor is all yours and pleasure is ours. Thank you very much, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I would like just to have the share screen capability so I can share my presentation. Okay. زين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We welcome you, and I have about an hour for our presentation today, so I need to be pretty fast. I'm sorry for yesterday's session that I was not available. I just got confused with the timings. So today we are going to be talking about how to develop and operate a quality management system at the university. Of course, the example that we will reflect is the one at the University of Bahrain. The example that was applied at University of Bahrain, the IQAACE system, the internal quality assurance system applied at the University of Bahrain, had been selected by IIEP UNESCO as one of the best practices. And this what gave us some kind of an exposure to international conferences presenting our work here. And we have a publication, of course, with UNESCO. Okay, so starting our IQA, the first thing I want to mention is that there are 3 circles that we need to make sure that we satisfy. The first one is the compliance. And when we say compliance, we mean, of course, we need to comply with the regulators, standards. And here regulators could be HEC, of course, the Higher Education Council or the Commission at your place, or any other body. That could be the national councils, as I have seen from the last presentation, on national accreditation bodies. So that could be the compliance part. Then the next part, the next circle, is the quality assurance and accreditation. Now, I did not put them as one circle because there are other regulators to comply with other than the higher education councils or commissions. And when we talk about, of course, the quality assurance and accreditation, we talk about program review, national and institutional review, or national accreditation, or it could be international accreditation. Now, all these details I'm mentioning, they are important. Why? Because I need to also have a third circle that satisfies both the other 2, who are our graduates. Our graduates are going to graduate having certain attributes, objectives, and outcomes. Now, my quality management system at the university should be built so that it satisfies all 3, and it should have a kind of a system that will have, for example, policies and procedures to satisfy certain compliance conditions, or we also need to have some other policies and procedures and frameworks to satisfy the quality assurance and accreditation, and so on. So simply that was our start. Now it's easily we easily can forget our national economy and national strategy, the vision, while we are working with quality. And this is something that happens. Why? Because quality are standards. And usually standards, they may include something about vision, but through my view of many international, not national, international accreditations, they always forget the national economy and national strategy part. So we need to be careful about that. So our quality management should include all. Now, what we are going to explain today, we are going to explain our quality management system in terms of structure, policies and procedures, frameworks, IQA instruments, tools, and the strategic plan. We are going to go one by one through every part. It's just we are saying, and what I'm trying to say here, I'm trying to say here that if we want to have a successful quality management system, we need to work with all these. In other words, if you will not have a good quality management system, if you don't have a quality structure, you will not have a good internal quality management system if you don't have policies and procedures and so on. So the first thing we are going to talk about the quality structure. And I'm just representing a simple structure here. And this structure, of course, is different from one country to another. And here I'm just presenting the structure that we had. And to be honest with you, that this was a key success or a key driver to our success, and it was selected by UNESCO to be different than other countries in terms of what that we have our quality structure is built in at all levels. It's built in at all levels. And here where we are trying to shift our system rather than being at the level of the university, we try to control everything, and we want it to be disseminated on all levels of the college department and program to have it as a culture. And this is what we are trying to shift to. We are trying to shift to have a culture within the hierarchy that we have at the university. Now, I'm not going to go to the details who are the people sitting at the university, who are sitting at the college. The idea is that I have a representative at each level. And each level, when I say a representative, I'm talking about committees. I'm not talking about a person. So there's a committee at the university level, which of course oversights and looks over, manages everything. And then we have also the quality officers at the college who are members in the committee at the university. And then we have the Quality Assurance Committee. The coordinator is a member in the College Quality Assurance Office. And then, of course, at the program level, they are members at the department level. Now, sometimes we try to keep easy and do not include try to keep our structure manageable. And being manageable is that by distributing it at different committees. Now, what do we have at the program level? We have 2 additional committees similar to what you have. I have read your standards. And something called the Program Advisory Committee, which includes the advisors from outside the university, and a Student Advisory Committee, which includes the students from inside the university. Now, that is our quality structure. And then we shifted, we said that, okay, what are our quality review systems or processes? What are our quality control processes? And what are quality enhancement processes? And why did we do this? Because it was very easy to see that we go and cross with the academic committee. So the academic part or the academic structure, somehow we cross-linked with some activities or responsibilities that are handled by them. And because of that, we needed to really concentrate on what we are doing exactly. So who is the one who's performing or developing the curriculum? It is the academic committee. But who will review the curriculum that it achieves its goals? Now the quality review comes into being and make sure that this happens, right? So the academic committee, they are going to develop the curriculum and they are going to review the curriculum, but the quality review just makes sure that this is really happening. Now, the more that we can disseminate all processes to the bodies that we have inside the university, it becomes a culture. And that is the key driver here. If it becomes a culture, a part of their processes, daily processes, here we are talking about a real change in the quality system. And this is what I'm presenting now in this slide. I'm saying the responsibility lies where? In the faculty members, Program Quality Assurance Committee, department chair. What I'm trying to say simply is that we know that we have quality review, Of course, this is part of a quality policy. I'm going to come to that in a moment. It's a part of a policy and procedure, but we don't want the faculty members to think that who's responsible, it is the college quality assurance office. That is not the answer that we want. If they say that, then there's a problem. Okay, then there is a problem. We don't want this to happen, because if this happened, that could be a serious problem that we have. And the problem is that why? Because they are thinking that we quality people are responsible for their jobs. No, we wanted to be part of their system. And that is why I have this slide, just to show you the differences that we can have here. And the differences in what sense? So we have at the department level, Quality Assurance Committee and the Curriculum Committee. So the Curriculum Committee reviews the course outcomes within the course. And however, the one who supports and trains to how to review the outcomes is the Quality Assurance Committee. So they are a supporter, they are a trainer, they are also some kind of a regulator. They're not a regulator, but they are trying to make sure that things are being applied as it should be within the other committees. Very similarly, it goes to the other examples. Again, I'm not going to the details of this. I'm just giving the idea that there is a quality structure. Okay, there is a quality structure that is divided at various levels. Now, you can think of it as the other way around. Now, if I don't have a quality representative or a committee at the department, is this something good or not? Now, that could be, the answer for that is that maybe quality structure at the college and department level, in specific to the department level, could be something. However, this could be applied to large universities who have a big number of faculty members, but maybe it will not be applied to small universities because they don't have enough faculty members to distribute them to different committees. So we also should be careful that even when we take this quality structure, we see what suits us. Number two is the policies and procedures. Now, with the policies and procedures, I'm sorry if that is little small for you, but the idea is that what we have done, we have kept all the policies and procedures in front of us. As you can see here, this is what we have done when we started, and we just wanted to make sure now we have standards to comply with the Higher Education Commission, right? We have standards to comply for accreditation, for international accreditation, probably. We have our own standards as well, that we want graduates at a certain level to keep our university competitive with other universities. Now, why I'm saying this? Because when we look at the standards in specific to the institutional standards for institutional review, I need to look at the policies. Of course, everything is going to get in, but I'm just putting some key policies that are really looked into very deeply by the Higher Education Commission or the council we have. And so they look at, for example, the students, the academic staff. They look at our quality policies that we have: program quality assurance and enhancement policy, mapping to the national qualification framework policy and procedures, assessment policy, moderation, internal quality review. And I know that you already have an idea, you already have similar policies, but the problem lies where is that when you only look at the quality policy and you forget about including the requirements by the institutional review standards, you forget to include them on the other policies. And this could be a problem. Why? Because you will be working by your own as a quality enhancement cell by your own, and you don't have the policy and procedures reflected in the other policies. And that could be a serious problem because you will be working solo and independently from the others. No, it should be reflected as part of all other policies to be a culture, and not to be me trying to control and telling the people at the scientific research, this is what you need to do. You need to represent blah, blah. You need to represent the indicators that the institutional review for evaluation requires. So we need to consider all the details. I'm not talking about only policies, and it could be at the level of bylaws, policies, and it could be at the level of the procedures as well, because the procedures just explains the details. They're not general guidelines for a certain activity, but of course, we are talking about the procedures. And we already know that they ask us about health and safety report, lab safety guidelines, for example. They're asking about how do you assign a supervisor for the PhD or master programs, for example. What I'm trying to say here is that that needs to be reflected. We don't need to go to the postgraduate committee or the postgraduate or the deanship of postgraduate studies, and they should do their own job. We as a quality people, we need to watch for this and guide them and make sure with the top management that all that is reflected in the policies and procedures. Now, this is something that I don't want to explain in details, but that is a curriculum development route map, and this is how we develop a curriculum. But the idea is not to explain to you that, but this is just reflection about how we are reflecting all the requirements for any program development in the details of our curriculum route map. Before, it used to be a simple procedure that does not consider what? That does not consider, for example, I will point it out here, does not consider the professional and statutory bodies. Or, for example, while we are developing the curriculum, we forget about the NQF levels. While we are developing the curriculum, we forget to see the market, the research studies, or the changes in the student demand, which is part of the market rationale. Now, we may have these, and we may forget it easily if it's not written. Now, where did this come from? Actually, this was part of the institutional review standards. If we are, it was also part of the program review standards to get accredited, that we need to look at the market. We developed our policies again and modified them. We just made sure that the details are reflected into our processes. Okay, so we finished with the quality structure. So we are simply saying that it doesn't work to have a quality management system without a structure and without policies and procedures. Now let's look at the strategic plan and the top management support. Okay, so what we have here is the strategic plan. Now, what I'm trying to reflect here is if you, as a quality assurance committee or commission, quality enhancement cell, if you're not part of the strategic plan, if the quality is not part of the strategic plan, you're out of the game. And why? Because first, quality is very critical to the university in terms of business and competitiveness. And it's also part of their business because they need to get accredited so that they can get the permission from the Higher Education Commission to continue delivering that program. So it is very critical. Now, if it is critical, but it does not appear in the strategic goals, that could be serious. And here, what I'm trying to say here, I'm trying just to reflect that you need a top management support. So simply saying that it is part of the strategic plan is saying that the quality enhancement cell is a very important part of the university, and it is a top priority, and that is why we as a top management support the quality. And this is why I'm just reflecting here. Goal number one, raising the quality of teaching and learning. And here we can see, and on the other next years, we have enhanced programs quality. This is just, and I condensed it so that it can be readable. In our next 4 years, we also have something that is related to quality. So simply what I'm trying to say is that we need a top management support. Number two that I did not reflect here very clearly is that we have institutional and program indicators that they look for. For example, for research, they looked at the number of publications or the number of publications per person. So in this case, there are key performance indicators. Now, I need to make sure that these key performance indicators that are reflected in every goal, they are serving the quality assurance requirements that I'm trying to target. And this is why the quality enhancement guy or the quality guy at the university, he should be part of what? He should be, he or she should be part of the strategic plan. Okay, so I covered the quality structure, policies and procedures, and the strategic plan. Again, you can see that I'm not going into the details of that strategic plan, but I'm giving the idea about if I want a successful quality management system, I need to have these all on board. Otherwise, I'm going to have a problem. I cannot have it without a good right structure. In this case, for us, we are advising that it's to be decentralized rather than centralized, to be a culture rather than being controlled. And a part of being a culture and controlled, we need to make it a policy. There is one part I forgot to say about the policy. You know, when you go to the faculty members and you tell them that you should do this and that, for example, you need to prepare the course file according to the checklist, and you give them the checklist. Now, when you tell them about this course files and the checklist, he may say, no, I will not do it. As simple as that. Who forces me to do it? Now, who forces me to do it is to do with policies. If it is a policy, they are forced to do it, which means that not all faculty members are equal. Some of them will need some kind of control to push them, and some of them will be part of the culture. And this is our target, but we always need control. And this reminds me by our kids at home when we do live with our kids, but we also have some policies. Like, we love them, but we have policies. It doesn't mean that we have policies that we hate them. They need to come at a certain time. They cannot be late till after 9, for example. This is in Bahrain. I don't know how it's at other countries. They cannot sleep at 12 o'clock midnight, after 12 midnight. Maybe that is different at other countries. So what I'm trying to say, we have rules. You cannot swear or say bad words at home or anywhere, of course. You need to pray at certain times. So these are policies, and these policies that we have. And if we don't put these policies and control, we could have problem with some of our kids. Now, sometimes, it's not sometimes, with control, you will reach culture. You will eventually reach the, and that takes time, of course. It may take about 5 years to get there, sometimes more. Some people say it's about 10 years. But whatever, you need both. You need to work at both levels. Okay, so going back to the framework. So looking at the framework, okay, now most of quality assurance bodies, committees, cells, they work on the framework level, and sometimes they forget about the other details. Okay, so they are not part of the strategic plan. They are not part of the structure. Maybe they are sitting at the top there, but they are not really disseminated into other levels of the college and department. Maybe they don't have hands on the policies and procedures, so that they make sure that all the requirements are reflected in the procedures. They only concentrate on framework and process, and that could be a serious problem. But definitely, if you have all the other three, but you don't have a framework, you're going to have a problem. So definitely we need a framework. And here a framework, just simple, very similar to what you have. So we have a vision, of course, all the visions. We have a mission, very well known. We have PEOs. That means every program should have objectives. Every program should have program outcomes. And every program should have, or every course, sorry, should have a course outcome. And of course, all of them, they should be related to each other. And we have something in addition to that, we call it the University Internal Learning Outcomes, which means all outcomes at the program level should have at least these University Internal Learning Outcomes. And they are mapped to it. They can change the rewarding according to their program, but they need to satisfy that University Internal Learning Outcomes. And in other words, for example, University Internal Learning Outcomes, it's talking about, it's very small here. I have another slide, which is bigger. It talks about communication. So any student who graduates from our university should be good in communication, should be good in the technological competence and in IT, should be good in should be a good critical thinker, should be a good researcher, and he should be responsible and honest. And lastly, they know how to get the information if they want to get it. So these are our 6 attributes, or sometimes they call them graduate attributes. So we are trying to somehow we are trying to lead all the programs and tell them that this is our minimum of our graduates. Now, this is part of a framework. And these are the University Internal Learning Outcomes that I just mentioned: communication, technological competence, critical thinking skills, information literacy, responsibility and integrity, lifelong learning. That we want to see on all our in all our programs. Again, what I'm looking at the framework. This is part of our framework. Every university has its own framework, and I'm sure they have something plus or minus. And universities look similar to how they develop these outcomes, because they went to best practices, and best practices in the world reflect part of what I'm trying to explain here, and so on. So again, so what do we have? As I said, that we have the elements of the assessment plan as part of our framework, that we have standards. Part of our framework is to have measures and indicators. How do we measure? Through direct and indirect measures. Part of our framework is that we analyze our data. Okay, we analyze our data. I'm going to explain these 3 things again in another way, okay, in another way. So we have a framework which looks like this, and I'm sure that this is something that you already have. But the beauty of this is that I can see within my framework is that I have the academic program. I'm satisfying all the requirements that is required by national and international bodies, and I'm including all the stakeholders. Now, how do I do this? I need instruments. Okay, I need instruments. Now, how do I do my second part, which is related to stakeholders' needs? That means I also need additional instruments to do this. Going into the depth, into the details, we already said that we have program objectives and the program outcomes. It didn't show here. So what I'm trying to say here, again, we need to have the policy, the procedures or the instruments, so that it can serve our framework in an acceptable way. Even when I have the course outcomes here, I just want to make sure. Okay, I just want to make sure that. Sorry, my slide got stuck for a moment, and this is why I just stopped talking while I was writing. It just got stuck. Okay, just to get out of this. Okay, Just 2 seconds. I'm trying to get out of this thing here so that I can be able to close it and open it again. Okay, so I'm just going to stop share just for a moment, just for 10 seconds at least, something like that, just to make sure that things are okay. Okay, IT stuff always happens again and again. Okay, that should be okay now. Let me open again. So I simply closed my PowerPoint and I'm just opening it again, and I will share it in a moment. Okay, that sounds good. Now I will share. So good, we are back. Okay. So this is where we had stopped. Let's see. Okay, so that was the area where we had stopped. Now I was talking about here the quality framework. This is part of a quality framework. Now I can go to the details of the quality framework, but I'll try to explain the key factors in it. The key factors are what? Part of the quality framework is to include everyone in the process. And this is where we have the stakeholders input. Part of a quality framework is to consider that we have an assessment of our activities. That means we want to see that if we are doing well or not. How do you know you do well? You have a course outcome assessment. You have a program outcome assessment. You reflect if we are achieving your course goals or course outcomes. I know they are different. I'm just mentioning them. And you're seeing if you're achieving your program outcomes or objectives. In this case, who are our program constituencies? They are students, employers, faculty, and alumni. These four, they are part of the process and they are part of the quality framework. So simply what I'm trying to say is that we have a quality framework that includes all constituencies. How? We have our assessment tools. Who will manage it? The Quality Assurance Committee at the department with the college office, the Quality Assurance College Office Director. How do they do it? They do it through the SER report, which means we have an internal self-evaluation report. Now, I know that is a bit strange for, and many people ask us, do you mean the SER, the self-evaluation report that is submitted to the Higher Education Commission? No, we don't mean that. We mean that we have our own self-evaluation report. Why? Because we are just making it part of our culture. And as the SER requested by the Higher Education Council comes to us, we already have the data. We already have our evaluation. We just need to write it in terms of their standards, which are already part of our internal self-evaluation report. Definitely, our internal self-evaluation report is much smaller and condensed form of the big one that we submit to the HEC, but it supports because it has all the data. And definitely this is not the only input that is reflected in the self-evaluation report. We have other inputs that come from the annual curriculum report. So we have other inputs. Who are our other inputs? our other inputs are the student advisory committee, the program advisory committee. So we also have our other inputs that gets into our internal self-evaluation reports till it goes to the council. And of course, we're here, the annual action that we should do based on our self-evaluation report. What I'm trying to say here, I'm trying to say that this is our quality framework. We have inputs from people, we have inputs from advisory committees, we have our self-evaluation report. Just to look at it simpler, this is in a simpler way, just for the presentation, is that we have direct assessment that we are measuring how much we are achieving course outcomes and how much we are achieving from the program outcomes as well. And then we also look at the opinions of the employers and the alumni and the students and the graduate students. We look at their opinions as well. And we reflect all this direct and indirect assessment in our self-evaluation exercise. We also can look at the details. So, for example, someone will ask me, how do you assess the course outcomes? It is here, okay? Now it's very small. It's written here, assessment of CILOs. So that is the first part. So this is the assessment of CILOs. And that is the assessment of PILOs. Okay, CILOs is the course intended learning outcomes. PILOs is the program intended learning outcomes. So I'm just trying to reflect that there is a quality framework without going to the details. And definitely there are other measures, and it's written here, run employer survey, run alumni survey, and run the senior exit survey, which is part of the cycle, and the course evaluation survey, and there are many other stuff. Going into the details, I just took part of it, which is related to the run employer survey and alumni survey, and we use them to measure the objectives, And why do we use them to measure the objectives? Because the employer will look at your graduate at the final shape. These are our products. Our products are the students. And now the employers are looking at our final product. So we want to ask the employer, are you happy with our product or not? Of course, the alumni, we want to ask them about the product as well, but they were part of the system. So we also want to tell them that, do you have suggestions with our system, because you know our system, how to improve achieving our objectives for the program or not? So you can see that how things are serving, how do we achieve our program objectives? When we ask the employers, we ask the alumni, we also ask the program advisory committee and the student advisory committee that we have within our program, because they are at an advisory level. Program advisory committee, again, they represent people who are from the industry or from the market, and I want to make sure that these people who are represented from those places, from the industry, they have a word. They have a word to how things should improve at our program. This is how we look at things if we are talking about the assessment of the PILOs. Okay, and again, the assessment of PILOs is direct measures. That means based on the exams, based on the tests, assignments, we reflect if we are achieving our program outcomes and our course outcomes. Now that is all part of our framework. Now, is that enough? Someone could think that this is enough, but I would like to reflect that quality framework should go through the details even more. If you do it well at the first time, it helps you later. We need to reflect. We need to reflect that the achievement or our quality framework, who is going to do what at every level, who is going to do at the job of the university internal learning outcomes, who's going to do the approval of the program outcomes, who's going to form the advisory committees, who's going to assess the course outcomes, and what are the forms and surveys that they're going to have in hand. So quality framework does not mean it's just a framework, but it gets into the nitty-gritty stuff and tells who's responsible for what. And not only who is responsible, it is when they are going to do it. So it's a timeline. And this is a general timeline that we print just for the people, but there's a detailed timeline that we have, of course, as you have, definitely, that mentions all the details that we have at the department and the college and the university. And we call this the annual program assessment plan. So it's the plan for assessment. So what did we cover so far? And I think I'm good with time. I'm happy with that. So the quality management system, we covered the quality structure. So we need to have a structure at various levels. We need to have policies and procedures to control and to try to make it part of a culture. So it's very important. And this is why we have also structure at various levels to have it as a culture. And we remember that policy and procedures, we're not talking about quality policies and quality procedures in the sense that the word quality, where does it appear? And no, we want to have all the requirements by the commission that it should be reflected in the policies related to quality policy or related to all other policies. And number 3, we need to be part of the strategic plan and the KPIs so we can have the top management support and to have all our measures reflected there. Number 4, we need to have a framework. Of course, framework means we need to have the detailed processes and the roadmaps very detailed. Now, I already mentioned part of when I was explaining the process and roadmaps, I started explaining about the instruments, the surveys. So what is the survey? So what instruments do we have? So we try to reflect our IQ instruments, as you can see here, in some detail that I'm in the presentation to keep it easy to grasp. So we reflected that in the sense, what are the IQ instruments related to teaching and learning? Okay, so the instruments that are related to teaching and learning, we have course evaluation. What do we do for course evaluation? We have student surveys and faculty course surveys. We have also, I think I missed up something here. It's okay. We have program evaluation. What do we have? We have senior exit student survey, alumni survey, employer survey, and we have direct course internal learning outcomes assessment and program internal learning outcomes assessment. That is based on the exams. For teacher supervision, we have instruments like peer observation, peer teaching, and we have a program. It's a part of a peer observation program and training development program. We have a unit called, and whatever, then we have something that a unit who's responsible for developing the teaching capability of it's not teaching only, it's teaching and assessing capability of the teachers or the supervisors or the professors and so on. So one of the instruments we have related to teaching and learning is the program self-evaluation report. That's the internal one. And again, we have a program monitoring. What do we mean monitor the program? We want to monitor it, amend it, change it, see if it's going well. How? By going to the advisory committee. This is an instrument that we have, and program advisory committee course portfolio audit. And that is something that I'm going to explain in a moment. We have something called course portfolio audit. We changed its name to the employability audit. So we audit the programs. When you talk about audit the programs, I still remember when I started this, by that time, several years back, I was a little younger, okay, and talking about younger, and I was under 40 years old, and I still remember that when we did this audit, and we tried to do it very respectfully, because even our professors, like, it doesn't mean that if they make a mistake in a quality system that they are not good. It doesn't mean that at all. they are superior. They are very experienced. We still learn from them, but maybe they did not do a requirement for quality, and they look at it as a requirement by quality. They don't look at it, this is something really good for our program. And still remember that award by one of the faculty members when I was discussing about the course outcomes, that he doesn't write course outcomes. He doesn't like writing course outcomes. He said that I already explained to the students the topics, and that's good enough. And I know what I'm doing. So I tried to explain to the faculty member, he was a professor, and he taught me, by the way. And there he told me, like, you just hatched from the egg. And you're trying to teaching me what to do and what not to do. And طبعا, what I did is dialogue, not only, of course, with deans and chairs, because they are the key drivers. I need to always have dialogues with them, but I also have a dialogue with this professor. And I told him that I still learn from you. And then I started discussing with him one step by step till we reached to the conclusion that he told me we must have course intended learning outcomes. So we should keep easy. We need to be patient as well, because even control and pushing too hard would cause a kind of a resistance, and we don't want this resistance to grow. So we need to have dialogue. And here dialogue is key. And again, it's one of the instruments that means we must have a dialogue. One of the instruments, what does it mean? It means that I'm going to have, in my time frame, a meeting with the dean and the chair. Now, why do we meet with them? It's just telling the deans that, reminding them, here, we are the quality guys, you are still here, we're still after you. And something else, we need to shift this mental shift of how the dean looks at quality. And he needs to look at quality rather than as a regulator, people watching them, and look at us as a contributor and a supporter, that what we ask them, what do you want to make you successful? So this, we call them program monitoring. I took some time with program monitoring, sorry for that. Assessment of student competencies, the graduate attributes. So we have instruments related to that, and through the surveys, and we have the employability audit. These are the instruments. If we get the chance to look at the instruments, I have the instruments with me, and we can have a look at them quickly later if we have a chance for that. But looking at what we need to cover as IQ instruments, I discuss about the IQ instruments related to teaching and learning. And again, there are other IQ instruments related to students' employability. That means if I want to make sure that if our students or graduates are employable, I need to have a graduate trace studies. So I trace, where do they work? Do they work within the same field or not? So that could be through alumni surveys and alumni club. Employer satisfaction survey, we ask the employers if they are happy with our graduates. And of course, we involve the employers through our program advisory committees. We have a job market analysis, which is a market survey study. We do this every 4 years somehow. Sometimes we do it less than 4 years, but according to the policies, every 4 years. Assessment of students' competencies also is part of the graduate studies that appears there. So this is what we are having for IQ instruments regarding students' employability, regarding the level of organization unit, management level. So management level, I want to see how we are doing at a unit self-evaluation. So there's a program self-evaluation report regarding programs, but we do have a unit self-evaluation, okay, for the other units, talking about HR units, for example. So we have also something specific to those units. So it's like every management unit, other than the program units, they also do some kind of a quality job. Again, it's a part of a quality structure and the quality culture. And why did we include the units? Because it's one of the requirements by the quality assurance, the EQA, the external quality assurance agencies. And we have, of course, another external evaluations. We have certifications. You also have a lot, ISO, excellence models, and all the accreditation bodies. So all of these bodies that mentioned here, we already got accreditation by ABIT, CEDA, NAB, AACSP, CAPE, ABA. So there are more as well. And personally, I worked with all of them, being an evaluator for some of them as well. So this is what we have as IQ instruments. Again, so where are we standing? And we were talking about if you can recall, we were talking about the frameworks. And then we said that what are our tools? What are our instruments? So we are talking about the instruments and the forms. One of the instruments that we have is the self-evaluation report. I'm not going to go to the details of this, but I'm just reflecting how we use this both for training and both for disseminating this culture of self-evaluation. So we tell the faculty members, like, if you want to self-evaluate, these are the areas of the self where you're trying to evaluate. Okay, what you're going to evaluate, self-evaluate for the program, these are the areas that you're going to self-evaluate. What are you going to self-evaluate for your faculty? These are the areas that you need to self-evaluate regarding your faculty, and so on. Now, what kind of evidence you need to show? Before the evidence, what kind of improvement actions or reporting you need to have for your self-evaluation for program? These are the kind of improvement actions you would expect. For example, for program, you would expect improve course description, improve the learning activities, improve the structure, the prerequisite structure. For faculty members, improve the peer observation process, and so on. And then what kind of evidence should be available? Now, what we are trying to do here as well, we are making our evidence structure ready. And by that, somehow we have a repository, and this repository represents the data and the evidence that we have, that we always can get a graph of evaluation report that is to be submitted to the external quality assurance body. Now, again, part of our framework is as we said, we have the employability audit. And I said that I'm going to little explain the employability audit. And simply what you are trying to say, we want to see that while we are auditing the course files, we are looking at if they are covering the knowledge, skills, and attitudes which are represented in the program intended learning outcomes, if they are represented very clearly and to the required level for every year. Now, I would expect knowledge in basic sciences at the beginning, but a second year, they would develop the communication and technological competence, and then they're going to apply their knowledge using, of course, the technological competence and so on, the lifelong learning, and then they're going to integrate everything. So we do audit to the nitty-gritty stuff because we need to improve our university, and we don't do it only for the sake of the external quality assurance bodies. How is that reflected? In the course files, we look for assignments in the first year, multiple choice questions, basic reports and laboratories. But then we look at case studies and presentations and basic research skills using software in the second year. And then we look at case studies and mini projects, open book exams, maybe they would have home exams, reports, something that is more relevant. I'm talking about IT. That's why maybe you look at things that are more relevant to IT. And then we have capstone projects, exposure to life, real life case studies, and so on. And this is just an example of an audit to one of the colleges. It was College of Science. So you have here chemistry, biology, physics, mathematics, statistics, College of Science. And these are our university intended learning outcomes. And when we did the audit, we found out, for example, for communication, we found out that they have a lot of assignments, reports, presentations, course files. But when we went to math and statistics, this was 10 years back, there were no assignments, no reports, no presentations in the Department of Mathematics and Statistics. So we can conclude that our students is going to graduate from the Department of Mathematics with poor communication skills. So this is kind of one of the instruments that we use, and we do it for what? For the sake of ourselves, before, as part of our internal quality assurance capability. A part of our IQA as well is to ensure the empowerment to the student. And this is reflected not directly by the external quality assurance body, the EQA. They talk about graduate attributes, but we reflected the empowerment to our students to make them more employable. How to make them more employable? By empowering them. Now, I'm not explaining the details of these because I have a presentation that is in details for this. I have another presentation in details for student empowerment. So I'm just skipping those details, but you got the idea. It's a part of what? It's a part of our IQ instruments is to do the employability audit and to do the other instruments, the surveys and so on. Now, the tools and resources, which is the last part that we have in the quality management systems. And here, tools and resources, we are simply talking about what tools that do we have as IT tools that makes our life easier to manage this whole process. And so one of the tools is the program information repository. So we have a database of all what we try to do. So it becomes electronic. The evidence is also electronic. There's a place where they keep everything electronically. So it's like a program repository. It helps us a lot. And there is an assessment tool to assess the outcomes. And there is a monitoring tool. So the same system that I have, we call it AIMS, the same system that we have, we monitor if the colleges fulfill all the requirements and they have the KPIs as to our plan or not, as to the strategic plan. So it's like we are having a system just to maintain all this. So this is one of the knowledge management tools that we have. And we have the details, assessment tools, direct and indirect. That means all the results of the surveys, we can see it in this tool, and we can see the results of the performance indicators, the PILO's assessment, TILO's assessment as well. And that is an example of a survey. So it's written here, do you currently have at least one job offer? So we ask the students who are graduating, do you have at least one job offer at the time of graduation? So we can see that yes, we have here about it's less than 30%. Where it's written, yeah, 35%, and no, it's about 65%. So this is one of the questions, and of course, these are the colleges: arts, business, engineering. So we have 35% of students in engineering that already have a job offer. In education, we have 55% already have a job offer. We have a special education system that is directly linked to Ministry of Education. And that's why they have a high rate there. And this is some kind of KPIs if we are just making sure that they fulfill all the requirements. They have the POs, the constituencies, the advisory committees, and so on. And this is just looking at the activity, if they are doing well and performing well throughout the months. And these are just details, and I'm just presenting them just to tell you that we have all the surveys in that repository, and we can see the results for the college level and for the university level. Of course, we can see it for the university level because it's all automated. We have one assessment tool, part of the tools that we use. Now, I mentioned instruments, right? I mean, instruments goes with tools somehow, but I separated the word tools because it's all electronic. So we are trying to make our life easier. So it's not that I'm having a survey instrument, but it's how I'm applying this. I'm applying it using a tool, and this tool is electronic. Here's one of the tools that we use to assess the outcomes. So simply they enter the marks, so they enter their course outcomes, and they enter their marks, and based on the course outcomes and marks, and some kind of mapping between the questions and the course outcomes, they have 4 reports that generate automatically. This is through Excel, so simple stuff. And those 4 different worksheets that appear. This is one example of a worksheet, CILO's assessment report. It shows you the achievement of every outcome, and it also can show you what is met and what is not met. And if there's any course outcome not met, they should have an improvement action for that. And this is just an example of one of the programs that shows all the courses, and if they are achieving the program outcomes, not the course outcomes here, we're showing that if they are achieving the program outcomes. One of the things that we should have as data as well with the tools is also to look at the dropout rate, for example, the graduation rate. And this is just an example of a dropout rate. And I'll show you an example how things are changing. For example, College of Health Sciences, you can see that in 2013-14, they had a very high dropout rate. Somehow it's 9%, but in comparison to 1% before and after. So those days we were worried, and we found out the reason and we brought it down again. We can see College of Applied Studies, the dropout rate is very high. It's getting to 20%. That means from every 5 students, there's 1 dropping from the program, and so on. So we are a government university, so we are expecting that we have a mass education, and this is another issue that we were suffering from. Part of the tools and resources, again, I'm talking about my IQA system. To have your place as an IQA system, you should not forget the social network. You should be visible to everyone, the faculty members, students, and so you should have the power. And part of the power is not only the top management, but to be visible. And here you can see that we are visible in the university, our own website, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and that reflects in the calendar of the university to all our events. So I'm just reflecting how we are trying to be active. We are also trying to be active. Part of the resources, we have our human resources. How to have our human resources really strong? We need capacity building. And not only capacity building by our own, but by our linkage to the accreditation bodies, we can have additional capacity building. And in that regards, I'm just showing you the history. I'm approaching the end of my session now. I'm just showing the history of University of Bahrain, that we started our first quality visit, and we didn't have any system at all in 2003. Our first system we had at College of Engineering was 2005 with ABIT as an international accreditation body. And we gained our first accreditation in 2008. In Bahrain, 2009, the Quality Assurance Agency started. It's very similar to your higher education commission. So we are talking about the life of our quality assurance in Bahrain is about 13 years old now. So we gained, of course, accreditations by different bodies, and we gained and we really learned from their accreditation system to put our own IQA system that satisfy the accreditation body internationally and satisfy the compliance with the internal quality assurance, with the national requirements. I just showed you this with some details just to show you that you are there and we are all there at the level of quality. We are not late, yani we can catch up. So that is my quality management system. You need a quality structure. You need policies and procedures in place for both control and culture. You need a framework very, very detailed, and it should be reflected in your policies and procedures as well. Timelines, who's going to do what. All the instruments should be developed, and it should be kept electronically so that you can use these tools and use it as monitoring tool as well. And of course, you need to be in contact and in direct relation with the top management. My final slide. What are the key success factors? These are very general conclusions. Balance between centralization and decentralization to have the culture and control. Balance between national and international accreditation, because national accreditation sometimes misses the specialization requirement. Now in Pakistan, I know that we have the national bodies, or for example, the hospital, or you have a national body for a professional body that they participate in the accreditation. That is a very good practice, and it's not there in many other countries. So you're really doing a good job in that regards. Now in Bahrain, the professional bodies they are not part of the accreditation, the national, which may mean that you may miss that this is specialization, the international exposure of it. Now we try to cover it with international accreditation because they also tell us what is advanced in that regards. Balance between efforts and requirements to make the process sustainable. So because sometimes you require a lot, but you cannot do it. You cannot do it, change it, make it easier to make it sustainable. And this is what I have seen from the last presentation, and I have a presentation in that regards in Bahrain regarding the EQA, the risks that EQA could suffer. And part of it was the challenges was mentioned by Professor Imran. Balance between control and culture, I already mentioned that. Utilize the external monitoring process. Sometimes we use EQA for our favor, right? So we cannot do it. You tell the faculty members, it's not the requirement that we are pushing for, it's a requirement by the QA. Sometimes it works for the people who are not really on board. Dialogue and involvement of all is very, very, very important. You need to talk to people, especially also chairs, the key drivers and the deans. And of course, continuous improvement doesn't ever finish. It's a continuous process. These are the 3 publications. The first 2 with UNESCO. I'm an author, co-author. For the first one and author for the second one. You can read the second one, which is the from external to internally driven quality assurance. I'm also a co-author with Susanna, the immediate INQAAHE president, and you also can see my chapter there and it has some part of IQA as well, especially in the Arab world. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I hope that I made it with the 20 minutes that I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. You were very accurate and to the point. And what we learned from your session, let me summarize it. It all starts with the strategic plan, where the quality is embedded in your system from right from the beginning, followed by defining your own quality. What do you mean by quality, and what should be the quality mechanism in your organization, in your university. Then the quality measurement, and assessment for many
your operation. Yeah, that's fine. If you decentralize your operations, your structure, it becomes easier. So in that sense, when I have a team of about 6 people with me as a director, but I already have another team at the college level, another 3rd team at the department level. So we already have teams within. It's like you having an academic committee sitting in the department. You also have another committee called the Quality Assurance Committee, and this is what makes things different here, because you're having a wide structure. Your hands is in every department, and this is how we are trying to manage things. We decentralize it.
Right, sir.
Decentralization, by the way, and you can read my paper on that in Emerald, but it has some problems. It doesn't mean that everything is beauty and everything is really great, because if you decentralize, that means you trust this person who's sitting at the department to do the job. And now, how do you trust him? You train them, and after you train them, you need now to trust them to make sure that they're doing the job well, but you need to monitor. And this is the challenge that we are going through.
And approximately how much time does it require to reach to that level where you are right now? We saw that you started your journey from 2003, but in actual groundwork, paperwork, how much does it require in terms of effort?
Well, our first quality assurance job started in 2003. So it's the first time we hear about quality, and we're trying to put quality in our system. And but to be direct, the first time we had our quality enhancement cell, very similar terminology that I'm using here, was in 2009. So I'm talking about till we really got to maturity in that regards. It took us about 7 years to get 5 international accreditations and to get...
Dr. Anna, can you hear me?
Wait, sorry. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Dr. Anna Prades. She is the head of internationalization and knowledge generation, and she is all the way from Catalonia with us. Besides that, she is a member of board of directors of INQAAHE, to which we are, I guess, the youngest members, the fresh entry into the family of INQAAHE. So it's our pleasure and honor to be selected to be a part of such a great organization, and we look forward to learn from you and also contribute in any means that can be. Dr. Anna would be delivering a session on global trends and challenges in quality assurance, and the floor is all yours, and we are all ears.
Okay, so thank you a lot for your kind invitation, and thank you to the City University of Science and Information Technology, and especially thank you to Professor Dr. Muhammad. I am really sorry to interrupt this absolutely interesting presentation from Dr. Bassam. I was really enjoying myself and learning a lot, and I for sure will look for your instruments about your surveys. I'm very interested in that question. But regretfully, I have an international committee visiting today, AQU headquarters, and I have to meet them. First of all, again, a warm welcome to the university, the City University of Science and Information Technology, to INQAAHE, to our community of quality assurance practitioners. And I'm just going to share my presentation. Let's see if I have here. Okay. Can you see it okay, the presentation?
Yes, they are visible.
Okay, great. So I am going to do a quick overview, a very quick overview of what is INQAAHE, because I know that some of you already know about this network. I've seen that among the attendants, there's Ms. Shima. Hello to you. So I'm really going very quickly about what is INQAAHE. I also would like to do a quick overview of some key concepts about what's quality internationally, what's quality assurance internationally. It will be much more theoretically oriented than what Dr. Bassam was doing right now, which is much more impractical, and I'm sure it's going to be really useful for your quality enhancement. So, and then I'm going through some key international trends, and what I'm going to present you what's INQAAHE response to those international trends. Okay, so first of all, the International Network of Quality Assurance Agencies in Higher Education was established in 1991. It was the first ever international quality assurance network. And at the beginning, we had 8 members, and nowadays we are more than 300 members around the globe. Okay. Our mission is to promote and advance excellence in tertiary education through the support of an active international community, by focusing on the development of theory and practice in quality assurance, by strengthening exchange and understanding of policies and actions in quality and quality assurance, and promoting quality assurance for the benefit of tertiary education. And this is why, and it's important for you that are new members, that we organize a series of activities, and it's important to be involved in these activities, because if not, you are not taking advantage of forming, of being in this network. This is why we organize the annual conference. Next one will be in Mexico this June. Inscription is open, so you are invited to go there. It's a wonderful opportunity to meet quality assurance practitioners from all over the globe. This is why you will receive the international quality assurance journal, because we do believe that the theory, it's important, the theory and practice, it's important, and we have to be at an academic level of quality assurance. And this is why also we have our funding scheme. INQAAHE, it's a network that gives money back to its members through a capacity building call of $10,000 in order, if you want to propose a proposal for capacity building. We also have $5,000 where we offer 2 grants in order to go to a graduate program, either in Melbourne University, which is in English, or to open a university in Catalonia, which is in Spanish. Okay. And we also have a smaller grant in order to publish papers in English, which is about $2,500. What else? Our values are inclusiveness. You don't need to be assessed to be member of our organization. Diversity, we are global. Our board has, as per constitution, all the regions of the world. Independence, our mandates comes from its members. We don't have any dependency to any government or international organization. And collaboration, our central concept is, since its beginning, information sharing, joint capacity building. So in order to do this, we need to reach out to each other in our network. Okay, so as you see here, this is where we've been having our annual events. We are driven by the internationalization principle, and by now INQAAHE events have covered the globe at least twice. And as just told you, this is news from right yesterday. Registrations to Mexico Forum in June, it's the 6th of June, I think it begins, are open right now. Okay, here you can see the board of INQAAHE. The 7 regions of the world are represented: Eastern and Western Europe, Middle East, Caribbean and Latin America, North America, Africa and Asia Pacific. So if, for instance, the University of Science and Information Technology, once, I don't know, would like to organize a working group in a subject of interest, you can reach out to the board and ask us for contacts about other quality enhancement cells, and it would be really easy for us to provide you contacts in order to organize this working group. Okay, now I'm going to begin a little bit. Yes, I'm going to present some key concepts, because when we are asked about giving this international vision, I think it's important to be on the same page about what do we mean about quality, since the globe is really big, and it's important to understand each other what quality is about. And the first thing is that quality means a lot of different things, depending on what? Depending on the different voices. Tom Bronstein said that it's a waste of time looking for a definition of quality assurance, but the most we can aspire to is to listen to the definitions of the different voices, of the different stakeholders that we have, okay? So, for instance, and this was said in the previous presentation, Dr. Bassam presented How does he collect information from different voices in order to, to have a complete vision of what's quality? He talk about legal issues. He talk about employers. He talk about the students. He talk about faculty. So quality has to do with complying with the legal regulations. This is the legal voice. Quality has to do about what experts agree about in relation to their special field, subject, discipline voice. I would say this is the predominant voice in our quality assurance procedures in general, but especially in Europe, this is the predominant voice. Quality in terms of results-oriented approach. Quality as matching the requirements and expectations of students. The consumer perspective. If you analyze the teaching excellence framework of the United Kingdom, you will see that this is absolutely key. The National Satisfaction Survey is used in order to award this gold, silver, and bronze medal to higher education institutions. Quality as relevance to the labor market, innovation, and flexibility, the labor market perspective. And also, quality since this organizational innovative perspective. And I think that it was very good example, the previous presentation. Quality as your ability to be a learning organization, of being able to improve yourself. But you have to take into account that there is kind of a balance of these different voices, because some of them can be contradictory. For instance, if I take the labor market perspective, the kind of teacher profile that I do need is teachers that are really close to the labor market needs. But if I take, as I was telling you, this is our predominant vision here in Europe, the subject discipline voice, then I would need teachers that are really good researchers, that they may be really good in academic research, basic research, that maybe it's disconnected from the labor market perspective. So these voices can imply different kinds of things. And maybe you have programs which are more labor market oriented and others that are much more academic oriented. Maybe you have organized this in different levels. The bachelors are more labor market oriented, and then you have masters more research oriented. But in any case, these are conflictive voices. And of course, the consumer perspective would be another case. One thing is to keep students happy, and another thing is to keep these benchmarks about the subject discipline, okay? So there are different roles about external quality assurance agencies. We can be gatekeepers. Some of us are gatekeepers, but some other external quality assurance agencies, I think for instance, in Belgium, for example, they are changing their role as capacity building for their own higher education institutions. And of course, we have lots of different external quality assurance procedures, accreditation, audits, assessments of performance, and so on. And they can be applied to programs, institutions, and services. So if I had to pick two quality assurance definitions, I'm going to pick two from two former presidents of INQAAHE. David Woodhouse, he was one of the founders of INQAAHE, said that quality is fitness for purpose. And then you have to define what's purpose. And the most important thing is that once you have the purpose, everything has to fit, everything has to be coherent, right, to this purpose. You have to decide if you want a program oriented to labor market, for instance, then you have your policy, what's going to establish different procedures, how you are going to select your teachers, what are going to be your intended learning outcomes, how you are going to deliver your program, the methodologies you are going to use, how many credits you are going to use to go to practice, to professional practice, right? This has to be coherent with your purpose, and you have to check. You have to have an information system, as you have seen in the previous presentation, and he's going to continue after me, in order to, to control this quality assurance. So it's a quite simple definition, but it's very complex to get it right, to do it right. But Susanna Karahanian, she's going to tell you that he's going to tell you that the most important thing is to be relevant. That right now, and we are going to go into that, there are so many challenges, there are so many pressures toward higher education institutions that our focus has to be within relevance. High quality has to do with relevance. Okay, so about the assessment procedure. Again, this is a theoretical approximation about what's the quality assessment procedure and about what's quality culture. Here we can see this diagram. It's a very old diagram from Don Westerheiden from the Netherlands. And this is the quality assessment spiral. And he said this is a circular and cyclical process, a never-ending process, okay? That begins with collecting data and information, okay? And here I want to bring to your attention that there are two kinds of different inputs, evidences that we have to analyze. One kind are performance indicators, statistics, data indicators, and another kind is the peer review, the observations, the opinions, the assessments of experts people of your faculty, right? Peer review is holistic, it's flexible, but also carries out error, bias, corruption. But on the other hand, peer review can suggest improvements, can suggest enhancements, and it's very well accepted within the academy. Peer review gives power to quality assurance agencies. On the other hand, performance indicators are objective, are comparable, are analytical in nature, but sometimes they are distant proxies of quality. They are accepted among managers, politics, and they give power to politics and managers. So there's we need to find a balance among these two quality assurance procedures. Okay, so this is one important dilemma that we have to face. Okay, let's go further with the third section, trends in quality assurance. Let me begin with a sentence from a friend of mine, Roberto Igarza. He's from Argentina. He says, we come from a plurality of past and we will have a diversity of futures. So I wanted to start organizing this section in 3 subsections. The heterogeneity of departure points, the changes, and then the future. Okay, so let's begin with the heterogeneity of departure points. Sorry, because we are organizing the visit right here. Okay. So if we compare the European standards and guidelines with the ASEAN quality assurance framework, we will see that the different voices that we have seen in the previous slide, they have different points. Excuse me. Do you want? No? It's okay. Sorry for that. We are preparing the visit, so there were colleagues here moving things around. Okay, so for instance, if you check the European standards, you will see that it has 3 parts. The first part deals with what has to do the institution in order to have quality. It has to do with the main concept here is institutional autonomy. It's at the core of the whole quality process, okay? On the other hand, if you check ASEAN quality assurance quality framework, the balance is quite different. And in the glossary, you can find a definition of institutional autonomy, and it says, institutional autonomy, what we mean with that is that institutional autonomy, it will be sufficient in terms of curriculum development and implementation and so on. And the first standard of external quality assurance of the quality assurance for ESGs, for the European standards, is you have to take into account internal quality assurance, whereas the first standard for ASEAN quality assurance is interest of students and society should be at the forefront of external quality assurance. That means that the voice that has more power is the voice of the society. So as you can see, when we are looking about trends, we see that the power of these different voices is different depending on the region of you are in the world. Regarding to Latin America, I wanted to comment that when we are looking at that region of the world, there is a system in a clear expansion. There was one country that in 10 years created more than 1,000 universities. So there are lots of challenges there, and quality assurance is taking a clear role in order to control that quality. They are really concerned about quality. For instance, in Ecuador, they closed 14 universities. In Peru, 1/3 of the universities closed. And if you look at Middle East, there's a huge world of heterogeneity. There's a full range of quality assurance. For instance, in Morocco and Lebanon, they don't have independent quality assurance agencies, whereas in Oman or United Arab Emirates or in Bahrain, they have really over-the-top quality assurance agencies. And Dubai, for instance, is specialized in multi-branch campus and it's working in network with other quality assurance agencies. So wherever you look, you are going to see different points of departure. But it's not also the region, it's also the time. And here what I'm going to present you, it's the longitudinal evolution of a country I know very, very well because it's my country. I've been working here for more than 20 years. And if we compare at the beginning, in 2000, quality assurance was a voluntary process and everything changed in 2007. There were no consequences to this quality assurance. And when we had a look at our universities at that time, there weren't any quality enhancement cells. They were created in that time. Also, our information systems, there weren't also any kind of indicators. And nowadays, this has changed dramatically. We have the use of learning programs in all programs, and we have very good public information systems and so on. And this is what allows us to evolve from program accreditation to institutional accreditation. Okay. Another thing that I wanted to use this slide for is for sharing with you another dilemma of quality assurance. On the one hand, when we have a voluntary process of quality assurance may not be taken very seriously. For instance, when we're carrying out these voluntary assessments, we would go to I don't know, to a low degree, for instance, and say, okay, what's your learning outcomes? What are the objectives of this training program? And they didn't have written down the intended learning outcomes of the degree law. They would tell you, we have them implicitly in our minds, we don't have them written down, okay? And you would go on another round 4 years later or 6 years later, and the situation would be the same. And all of this change with this royal degree. And when there are consequences, it's what's happening here, that now we have a framework, whether if you are not accredited, you have to close your program. On the other hand, when there are consequences, the risk is that quality assurance is seen as a danger, and then it's not taken, you know, as what you are trying to do when you are going to be assessed is window dress your situation. So you have to have a good balance, and for that it's absolutely crucial the role of internal quality enhancement cells, I would say that regardless of external quality assurance, what is really important is what Dr. Bassam was explaining before, is that the quality culture of the institution is it's really important. You are doing this because you want to do this, because you want to be better than you are today. And in order to do so, you have to take decisions based on evidences. And the main evidence from my point of view, in order to see if an institution has a quality culture, is to look at enhancement plans, improvement plans of that institution. If those improvement plans are based on a good diagnosis using multiple evidences, if those improvement plans are different, because I remember visiting one institution and looking at the same action year after year, then what's happening? Maybe the problem is bad defined, right? Maybe they think it's that the action is really useless in order to change that problem. So the main evidence that things are working correctly is the improvement plan of the institution. Okay, so now we have seen that we have heterogeneity of points of departure. You have to think that methodologies we have been assessing according to European standards and guidelines since 2005, but since our institutions are changing, our methodologies are also changing. Okay, so that means that the same methodology cannot be applied to another system if you don't take into account not only the geography, but also the maturity of the system. It's very difficult to do a good transnational quality assurance. Okay, so what happens with changes? We have seen that we have plurality of points of departure. What happens with changes? Also, if we have a look, this is the point of this slide. This is the total duration of school closures in the pandemic. You will see that even in that, which was common around the globe, the impact has been very different in different systems. You can see here that it ranges from here in Western Europe, from almost 10 weeks of closure, that the schools were closed, to more than 40 weeks that the schools were closed in North and South America. Okay, so that has really huge repercussions about what has been the reaction of universities through the pandemic. So this has also been very difficult. And even within one country, the consequences of the pandemic depended on whether you had connection to internet or not. For instance, in Brazil, federal state universities decided to close for more than half a year because they thought that if they continued education, most of their students wouldn't be able to follow their degrees, right? So the trends were there before the pandemic. This is the VUCA model, okay? We have volatility, we have uncertainty, we have complexity, we have ambiguity. There's unemployment, there's social inequality, migration-related crisis, political polarization. And what's happening is that university, higher education institutions are receiving lots of pressures. They are being criticized by academic integrity. I wanted to give you some figures about that because it's really a challenge, this academic integrity. For instance, in UK, they have detected that there are more than 1,000 contract cheating operation mills. That means that there are enterprises that sell, that are selling PhDs, that they are selling work that have to do the students. So students go to UK they enroll to a UK institution, and once they have to deliver a work, they go to one of these enterprises. This is really an issue. We have this contract cheating problem. We also have diploma mills, institutions that are really not there. And we also have accreditation mills. For instance, I was told in Indonesia that there was an external quality assurance agency that in 2 days, with an expert committee of 2 people, accredited 18 programs, okay? So there are criticism about this academic integrity at all levels, at the student level, at institution level, at accreditation level. There are also doubts about the meritocratic, about if university is real meritocratic, it really contributes to a meritocratic society. The role of higher education institutions in a way is that they are arbiters of opportunity. Okay, and you know, there's this whole Michael Sandels has this book about the tyranny of meritocracy. There is a huge debate about that, but there is also the debate about whether higher education institutions are really keeping up with the needs of the labor market. There is a sense that there is a growing disconnect about what higher education institutions are offering and about what labor market is offering. There is a huge crisis, global crisis about arts and humanities. For instance, China is not investing in research in arts and humanities. But also here, we are thinking in Europe and everywhere, it's system. There's this pressure in order to be productive. The labor market voice is getting much and more louder, right? So this is why Susanna Karhanian says that quality should be about acceptance, recognition of higher education outcomes by its key stakeholders and society at large. Okay, we are now in the future, main trends, and I have chosen 4. From emergency remote teaching to flexible modality of teaching to online teaching. I think we are going to lose this distinction between face-to-face teaching and online teaching. This is going to merge in nothing, in a few years. Short learning programs, micro-credentials, and the rise of non-traditional tertiary education providers, transnational quality assurance, and affirmation of quality globally. Okay, so the first one, here you have a selection of 3. It could be a lot of other documents that in order to raise your attention. This one from EDUCASE, the difference between emergency remote teaching and online teaching. This appeared at the beginning of the pandemic, and it was really inspired. And what it was raising the attention to was that, excuse me, here, is that what we were doing when was the pandemic, most of higher education institutions around the globe managed to continue doing education, okay? And this has been really a success. But in reality, what they were doing, they did what they could, but not what they should. The thing is that digital education requires really a lot of planning, a lot of decisions, and it was different from what was happening. I don't know, I remember I have a nephew that was a student at the time, and where there were PowerPoint presentations in the website. Okay, then maybe some teachers would connect and do Zooms and so on. But this is not digital education. In digital education, you have to plan ahead of time, 6 months before, from 4 months before, and you have to take decisions about whether it's going to be synchronous, asynchronous, what is going to be the role of the instructor, what is going to be the role of the student, what is going to be the student-instructor ratio, the pacing, if it's going to be self-paced or class-paced, the source of feedback. The assessment is absolutely key, how you are going to authenticate the student in the assessment, especially when you are talking about professional degrees or final exams. Last week, I was in a meeting with a few chancellors of the European region, of the European area from Spain. And I would say, they were telling me that there's going to be, this is a paradigm shift. This is going to change more than the European process, they told me. Because when they were in the European process, okay, the ECTS, the European Credit Transfer Systems, okay, you change the number of hours in class by ECTS. You know, you can do like these changes that were not really changes, but now they are facing really a challenge. They have to rethink the structure when they are thinking about the teaching staff. They have to include specialists, technical staff in digital education, in digital assessment. They have to rethink the structure. They are receiving the funding for the size of the class, and they have to change. One university already has changed theoretical class, lecturing classes. All lectures are going to be online. And what they are going to, they are dividing, they are flipping the classroom, right? Classrooms are going to be just to interact. Because what Roberto Igarza, this friend of mine, says that what gives meaning to presentiality is conversation. If there is no conversation, maybe you don't need to do a presential activity. So this is going to change. And my feeling, listening to the chancellors there, is that there are going to be higher education institutions doing this leap, doing this paradigm shift, and then we are going to have universities that they are going to have much more difficulties in order to do this paradigm shift. Maybe because they have older staff, maybe because they don't have the resources to do this technological change, because it needs infrastructure. It needs, you know, maybe because they don't have the flexibility to change the structure of their institution. But this is going to be a challenge. And for instance, you have this hybrid flexible course design from Brian Beatty, which is really, it blows your mind. It says it's not blended learning, it's that the student can decide 1 week if they want to be presential, if they want to be online. And this is really challenging in terms of design, of program design, because you have to ensure that they are achieving the intended learning outcomes. And when I look at it from an external quality assurance perspective, it was, oh my God, what's going to happen? But this is reality. This is happening right now. And we are going to have global providers offering this kind of solutions, and they are coming everywhere. And then the third document, it is about top 10 IT issues that we have to have. And I think it's a very, very short and interesting document that raises our attention about this. So if I had to select one international trend that it's important for you to be on board with this would be it. This change, this paradigm shift from face-to-face learning to this blended learning, okay? Then the rise of this constellation of micro-credentials, digital badges, open badges, micro-credentials, digital credentials, and credentials. There is kind of a mess of terminology, and it's important, really important, to create a common frame of understanding of what is this about. I have to. I'm going to be very quick about that because I really have to leave. But okay, thing is, this is a tendency for some higher education systems, this is a threat. I was speaking with a colleague from Colombia. The higher education system feels threatened because most of these micro-credentials are offered by other providers, by industry, for instance, and maybe students think, okay, what's the value? Maybe it's much more, gives me more marvel to go to a non-traditional provider than to go to a higher education institution. Third trend, transnational quality assurance. Lots of issues here about how these quality assurance agencies, when are assessing in your content, are really abiding by your legal regulations and so on. And if they are really being able to do a good job, if they are, because there are language issues, there are cultural issues, and this is really a challenge. Dubai is an expert in quality assurance of transnational education. And the fourth trend, we do need an affirmation of quality globally. What is behind this, it's this idea that we need professional mobility. You have here a slide about UNESCO global and regional conventions in order to recognize quality assurance. This is a trend, and it's going to be very important. There is a growing need to signal quality globally, and here we have a role, external quality assurance agencies, and also INQAAHE has an important role in order to give trust, a critical need in terms of reliability, credibility, and relevance of quality assurance providers. Okay, so what's INQAAHE doing about this? We are taking into account this diversification of provision of providers of quality assurance and this need for this affirmation of quality globally. And we are reviewing our global GGPs into international standards guidelines. We are beginning now our stakeholder consultation. You are going to receive this international standards and guidelines proposal, and please be active in reviewing it. The idea is that one size does not fit all, okay? So we are going to take, we need to address the maturity level of external quality assurance providers, and we are going to offer modular approaches. There are going to be a model of generic standards, of baseline standards, and then we are going to have specific models for transnational quality assurance providers, for distance education online provision, and for short learning programs recognition. And that's it. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for making me bypass Dr. Bassam really impressive presentation. Thank you for inviting me. I'm learning a lot of this on these workshops about ASEAN. ASEAN is big, is very unknown to European countries, and I think this has to change. Okay.
Thank you very much, Anna. It was a very interesting one, and definitely the present, past, and future that you have compiled in very short span of time. That was a commendable effort, and definitely we look forward to learn more in the coming future, to have a very extensive and comprehensive sessions. And I hope that INQAAHE and particularly Dr. Anna will spare some time so that we can have a proper deliberation and discussion over the future of higher education in Pakistan in particular.
Okay. We will be very glad to do so.
Thank you so much. Pleasure. Bye-bye. See you next time. Okay, thank you very much. That was with that, we reach to our concluding session of the 2 days workshop. With the permission of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Syed Minhajul Hasan Saab, if you allow us, so we can conclude. Respected participants, thank you very much for being with us for the 2 days workshop that was preliminarily designed to understand the designing and implementation of quality management system for universities. The focus was on a quality and assurance and quality enhancement, which includes both the internal quality assessment and assurance and external quality factors. On first day, we mainly covered the internal quality aspects of an organization, and on second day, the focus was mainly on the external quality. For this workshop, we were grateful to our resource persons and honored to have with us at present Dr. Bassam Alhamad. He's the Director, Quality Assurance and Accreditations, University of Bahrain. We of the where the reason was Dr. Karl, who is the head of Evaluation and Quality Enhancement Unit. We were having just a while ago Dr. Anna Prades. She is the board of directors member of INQAAHE, as well as from Vienna, where she is heading the internationalization and knowledge generation unit in one of the prestigious universities of Catalonia. Along with that, we had local resource persons, including one of our very own, Mr. Mohammed Imranullah Khan Marwat Saab, Director Quality Assurance from the Higher Education Department. And I had the opportunity to host a session as a resource person as well. We are grateful to the management of science and information technology, particularly the president, Mr. Mohammad Sabur Sethi Saab, who is also a head of the KP chapter for the Association of Private Sector Universities of Pakistan, and had a support from our worthy Vice Chancellor, Sir Professor Dr. Sayyid Minhajul Hassan Saab. In those 2 days effort, we were able to get the registration of more than 225 participants from 170 universities from public and private sector of Pakistan. And along with that, we are very grateful to the support provided by the Superior University and from the chairman of All Pakistan Private Sector Universities of Pakistan, APSUP, as a guest, chief guest, Professor Dr. Chaudhry Abdur Rahman Saab is with us. He is the chairman of APSUP and chairman of the Superior University, one of a very active human being when it comes towards quality education in Pakistan, and we are honored to have him as a chief guest with us. Along with that, Mr. Sabur Sethi Saab is also with us. Thank you very much, sir. It's an honor for the team of Quality Enhancement Cell of City University to have you all with us, and we are grateful. Shortly, a guest of honor, Mr. Nasser Shah, Director and in charge Quality Assurance Agency, HEC, will be joining us. I request our own President of City University of Science and Information Technology, Mr. Mohammad Sabur Sethi Saab, to have few words for us and for the participants.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dr. Noman, for taking a lead in this important activity. And I am grateful to all international participants in regular, and obviously all the local team who has worked hard to get this important issue addressed and learn from other countries the challenges that they are facing. I think we all have gone through last 2 years are very tough, and quality assurance need to be readdressed. We have to assure quality in letter and spirit. To my understanding, I'm not an academician, but I can say that this is something universities what's supposed to achieve is to bring change in society, in learning mechanisms, and the future of the our youth. For this matter, the City University, of course, within our humble capacity, whatever we are trying to do is to assure quality in terms of meaningful outcome. I think there are many levels of quality. The first thing is the content, what being taught. It has to be properly reviewed and handed over to institutions by concerned governments or higher education leaders in the country or globally, whatever. I think these activities are very important and must be, I think, should be held regularly, at least quarterly, I would say. This would bring a major change and learning for all these developing countries like Pakistan. I can see Chaudhry Saab is available now, so I will hand over to Chaudhry Saab. His contribution are tremendous for the country. Chaudhry Saab, please.
Thank you very much, Sabur Sethi Saab. सबसे पहले मैं शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहता हूँ डॉक्टर नुमान हबीब साहब का और सैयद मिनाजुल हसन शाह साहब का, जिन्होंने ये एफर्ट की और बहुत ही इम्प्रेसिव एफर्ट थी और जितनी इसकी तारीफ की जाए कम है. ख़ास तौर पर I would like to appreciate specially Bassam Alhamad साहब, जो उनकी प्रेजेंटेशन थी, that was marvelous. और जितनी क्लैरिटी थी सबूर सेठी साहब, मैं नहीं बता सकता. मेरा जो एक्सपीरियंस प्राइवेट सेक्टर का और पब्लिक सेक्टर का रहा है, अफसोस में ज़ाहिर है ये क्वालिटी के गुरु यहाँ पे बैठे हैं. मैं कोई लंबी चौड़ी तो बात नहीं करूँगा नुमान साहब, लेकिन सादा लफ्ज़ों में 2-4 बातें अर्ज करना चाहूँगा. जितनी क्लैरिटी बसाम अल अहमद की प्रेजेंटेशन में मुझे नज़र आई है, उतनी क्लैरिटी अफसोस मुझे यहाँ कहीं नहीं नज़र आई. जितनी मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग है यूनिवर्सिटीज़ का, सबसे पहले हमें अंडरस्टैंड करना है कि पर्पस क्या है. आमतौर पर 3 तरह के पर्पस समझे जाते हैं यूनिवर्सिटी के. सबसे पहले कल्चरल वैल्यूज़ को शेप देना, दूसरे नंबर पर ह्यूमन रिसोर्स को ह्यूमन कैपिटल में कन्वर्ट करना, तीसरे नंबर पर नॉलेज इकोनॉमी में कंट्रीब्यूट करना रिसर्च एंड टेक्नोलॉजी से. अफसोस अगर पाकिस्तानी यूनिवर्सिटी की बात करें तो हम बहुत पीछे हैं. मेरी अपनी डीन्स और एचओडी से मुलाकात थी. एक एचओडी से मैंने परफॉर्मेंस पूछी तो मुझे सिंपली बता रहे थे कि मैंने इतने ग्रेजुएट कर दिए. तो मैंने दोबारा पूछी, मैंने कहा भाई ग्रेजुएट तो कोई मसला नहीं है ना, असल में तो मुझे क्वालिटी के बड़े जार्गन्स तो नहीं आते, लेकिन मुझे इतना पता है कि क्योंकि मैं खुद ह्यूमन रिसोर्स मैनेजमेंट का पीएचडी हूँ, तो मुझे इतना पता है स्टेक होल्डर्स की एक्सपेक्टेशंस को मीट करने को मैं तो क्वालिटी समझता हूँ. चाहे आप वो पेरेंट्स ले रहे हो, चाहे आप स्टूडेंट्स ले रहे हो, चाहे आप गवर्नमेंट ले रहे हो, चाहे आप सोसाइटी ले रहे हो. तो असल में एक अंडर ग्रेड लेवल पे जो स्टूडेंट्स आया वो तो एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी चाहता है, उसको आपकी डिग्री से गर्ज नहीं है. अगर उसकी वर्थ नहीं है तो क्या आप मैयर कर रहे हैं कि मेरे पास आउट स्टूडेंट्स की एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी क्या है? ये सारी चीज़ें मुझे बसाम अल अहमद की प्रेजेंटेशन में क्लैरिटी से नजर आई, जब उन्होंने कहा ग्रेजुएट ट्रेस स्टडी हम करते हैं, एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी के सर्वे हम करते हैं. तो मेरी सिर्फ गुजारिश ये है कि हमें अंडरस्टैंड करना है अपनी यूनिवर्सिटीज़ के पर्पस को. हमें अंडरस्टैंड करना है कि हमारे अंडर ग्रेड लेवल पर हमसे क्या एक्सपेक्टेशन है. ज़ाहिर है अंडर ग्रेड लेवल पर एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी सारी सी एक्सपेक्टेशन है. हमें अंडरस्टैंड करना है कि रिसर्च डिग्री या पोस्ट ग्रेड लेवल पर हमारी क्या एक्सपेक्टेशन है. यहाँ पर रिसर्च तो बहुत ज़्यादा हो रही होगी, लेकिन अफसोस कि उसकी प्रैक्टिकल इम्प्लीकेशन क्या है रिसर्च की, वो क्या कंट्रीब्यूट कर रही है सोसाइटी में, किसी को पता नहीं है कि वो क्या कर रही है. तो जिस तरह बसाम अल अहमद साहब क्लैरिटी से बता रहे थे कि यूनिवर्सिटी के मिशन को अलाइन होना है प्रोग्राम लर्निंग आउटकम के साथ, प्रोग्राम लर्निंग आउटकम को अलाइन होना है कोर्स लर्निंग आउटकम के साथ, और हर कोर्स लर्निंग आउटकम पे हमें क्लियर होना चाहिए कि ये लर्निंग आउटकम नॉलेज या एटीट्यूड या स्किल सेट क्या डिलीवर कर रहे हैं. सेठी साहब, मैं इंडस्ट्रियल्स के साथ इनफॉर्मल और फॉर्मल मीटिंग्स में रहता हूँ कहीं प्लेटफॉर्म पे, खासतौर पे पीबीए के प्लेटफॉर्म पे. तो मजे की बात यह है कि आप जो इंडस्ट्रीज बात कर रहे थे या बिजनेसमैन बात कर रहा था, वो अब नॉलेज की भी बात नहीं कर रहा, वो अब स्किल की भी नहीं बात कर रहा, वो एक बहुत बड़ी बात कर रहा है जिसपे हमारी यूनिवर्सिटीज काम ही नहीं कर रही. वो एटीट्यूड की बात कर रहा है, वो वैल्यू सिस्टम की बात कर रहा है. वो जो स्टूडेंट्स में तलाश कर रहे हैं, वो कहते हैं कि इसमें ये हमारा स्टूडेंट जो है वो पंक्चुअल नहीं है, वो रेगुलर नहीं है, उसमें एबिलिटी टू हार्ड वर्क नहीं है, एबिलिटी टू सस्टेन प्रेशर नहीं है, वो टीम पे काम नहीं कर सकता, वो लीड नहीं कर सकता, वो चैलेंजेस को एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर सकता। तो मैं हैरान था कि क्या इवन एचईसी लेवल पे भी अगर आप देखें तो जो हमारे करिकुलम डिजाइन करने वाले लोग हैं उनको भी क्लैरिटी नहीं है ब्लूम्स टैक्सोनॉमी के कि हमारा नॉलेज लेवल क्या होना चाहिए, करिकुलम में स्किल लेवल क्या होना चाहिए और सिंथेसिस लेवल क्या होना चाहिए, किस लेवल पे क्या लेके जाना है। तो मैं बहुत बड़ी बड़ी बातें तो नहीं करूंगा, मगर मैं ये कहूंगा कि बिगिनर वो जर्नी ऑफ 1000 माइल्स स्टार्ट्स विद द सिंगल स्टेप। तो ये जो नुमान हबीब साहब की मैं एफर्ट कल से देख रहा हूँ, आउटस्टैंडिंग है। मैं ये समझता हूँ कि ये अभी बड़े छोटे मुन्ने से स्टेप हैं, लेकिन डायरेक्शन जो है वो बड़ी ठीक है। इस तरह के इवेंट्स बार बार होने चाहिए। और मैं ये समझता हूँ कि एपसप का तो ऑब्जेक्टिव पूरा हो गया। एपसप में हमने ये तय किया था ऑल पाकिस्तान प्राइवेट सेक्टर यूनिवर्सिटीज ने कि ना सिर्फ हम अपने चार्टर्स की रिस्पेक्ट कराएंगे, रेगुलेटरी बॉडी से कम्युनिकेट करेंगे, अपने मुल्क को सर्व करेंगे, बल्कि सबसे पहले हम ये देखेंगे कि हम एक दूसरे से क्या सीख सकते हैं। इंटरनली बहुत कुछ है एक दूसरे से सीखने के लिए, और फिर पूरी दुनिया से भी हम सीखेंगे। तो वो जो नेटवर्किंग हम इस्टेब्लिश करना चाहते थे, मेरा ख्याल है हमने पहला नेटवर्क इस्टेब्लिश कर लिया है और सिटी यूनिवर्सिटी इसमें लीड ले गई है। अगर ये कहें तो काम नहीं होगा। मैं फिर दोबारा वाइस चांसलर जो मिनहाज साहब हैं उनका भी बहुत ज़्यादा शुक्रगुजार हूँ, क्योंकि क्वालिटी मेरा एरिया नहीं है, इसलिए मैं ज़्यादा बात इस पर नहीं करूँगा। लेकिन मैं फिर सादा लफ्ज़ों में चंद बातों पर स्ट्रेस दूंगा, जो छोटी छोटी बातें हर यूनिवर्सिटी के मिशन में होना चाहिए कि उसने कंट्रीब्यूट क्या करना है सोसाइटी को। अगर आप अंडर ग्रेड लेवल पर पढ़ा रहे हैं तो अंडर ग्रेड लेवल पर एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी लोगों का ऑब्जेक्टिव होता है। तो हमें सादगी से सिर्फ मैच कर रहे हैं कि जो भी प्रोग्राम हम ऑफर कर रहे हैं क्या उसके प्रोग्राम लर्निंग आउटकम क्लैरिटी से हमें बता रहे हैं कि ये प्रोग्राम करने के बाद क्या नॉलेज स्किल्स और एटीट्यूड स्टूडेंट्स का होगा, और वो नॉलेज स्किल्स और एटीट्यूड क्या मैच करता है एम्प्लॉयर की रिक्वायरमेंट से। अगर तो वो एम्प्लॉयर की रिक्वायरमेंट से मैच करता है तो मेरा प्रोग्राम ठीक है, और अगर वो नहीं मैच करता तो फिर खत्म है। और कितनी सादी सादी सी उन्होंने बड़ी मुख्तसर सी जो प्रेजेंटेशन पूरा दिन रहना चाहिए थी, बसाम अहमद की अफसोस कि उसका टाइम टेन्योर सिर्फ 10 से 15 मिनट रहा। मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि ये दोबारा रखें और पूरा दिन रखें। और इसी तरह अगर आप पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट लेवल पे बात करते हैं तो हमें नुमान साहब बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है इस बात की कि हम देखें कि हम जो रिसर्च कर रहे हैं वो डेस्कटॉप रिसर्च तो नहीं है, उसकी प्रैक्टिकल इम्प्लीकेशन क्या है, उसकी कमर्शलाइजेशन क्या है। तो अब ज़रूरत है प्रैक्टिकल बातें करने की। अगर एक यूनिवर्सिटी नेशनल वैल्यूज के थ्रू आपका जो कल्चर है उसको नहीं शेप अप कर सकती तो उसका कोई फायदा नहीं है इनकलकेट करके नेशनल वैल्यूज के अंदर इनोवेशन की, क्रिएटिविटी की या इस तरह की। और अगर एक यूनिवर्सिटी ह्यूमन रिसोर्स को ह्यूमन कैपिटल में नहीं कन्वर्ट कर सकती तो वो बेरोजगारों की फैक्ट्री है। और इसी तरह अगर मेरी रिसर्च जो है वो सिर्फ कागजों में बंद होकर रह जानी है और मेरी प्रमोशन के लिए सिर्फ यूज होनी है तो उसका भी कोई फायदा नहीं है। तो मैं सादा फहम लफ्जों में क्वालिटी समझूंगा सिंपल स्टेक होल्डर्स की एक्सपेक्टेशंस को, और मुझे सारा रिवर्स चलना है। ठीक है, हमें स्टैंडर्ड्स बनाने हैं, फिर स्टैंडर्ड्स के मुताबिक मैयर करना है, फिर मैयर के मुताबिक इम्प्रूव करना है। लेकिन मेरा ख्याल है जो फंडामेंटल फ्लो है वो ये है कि शायद हमें क्लैरिटी नहीं है, जिस तरह मेरे एचओडी समझ रहे थे जिन्होंने मुझे ये धमकी दी कि मैं रिजाइन कर दूंगा अगर आप मुझसे एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी का पूछेंगे। मैंने कहा भाई फौरन रिजाइन करो अगर ये इसी बात पे रिजाइन करना है। तो मेरा ख्याल है कि जो क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस डिपार्टमेंट है उनको रीविजिट करने की जरूरत है। सारी यूनिवर्सिटीज के मिशंस को उन्हें रीविजिट करने की जरूरत है, हर प्रोग्राम के लर्निंग आउटकम को, क्योंकि प्रोग्राम लर्निंग आउटकम अगर क्लियर हो जाएं और एम्प्लॉयर की रिक्वायरमेंट के मुताबिक हो जाएं कि जो वो नॉलेज स्किल्स और एटीट्यूड चाहता है तो सारे मसले खत्म हो जाए। बाकी चीजें तो रिवर्स में है। रिवर्स में हम हर कोर्स लर्निंग आउटकम को क्लियर कर सकते हैं। रिवर्स में जिस तरह इन्होंने 4 साल के आखिर में प्रोजेक्ट्स रखे हैं, हम हर साल के आखिर में प्रोजेक्ट बेस्ड लर्निंग के थ्रू हर साल की लर्निंग देख सकते हैं कि वो क्लियरली हमें सही डायरेक्शन पे लेके जा रही है कि नहीं लेके जा रही है। अफसोस कि हमारी जितनी यूनिवर्सिटियां मेरा ख्याल है उन्होंने जाना अगर इस्लामाबाद की तरफ है तो इस वक्त वो कहीं मुल्तान की तरफ को जा रही हैं। तो आज की ये जो आपकी क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस के हवाले से वर्कशॉप है। मेरा ख्याल है कि ये फाउंडेशन स्टोन हमने रखा है और इस पर अगर हम अपनी इमारत खड़ी करें तो बहुत हम अपने मुल्क की तरक्की में कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकते हैं। हमें सिर्फ तय करना है कि यूनिवर्सिटी का मिशन क्या है, उस मिशन के मुताबिक अंडर ग्रेड प्रोग्राम चल रहा है या नहीं चल रहा, उस मिशन के मुताबिक हमारा पोस्ट ग्रेड प्रोग्राम चल रहा है कि नहीं चल रहा, और हमारे जो रिसर्च प्रोग्राम्स हैं क्या वो वाकई ऐसे स्किलफुल रिसर्चर पैदा कर रहे हैं जो रिसर्च की कमर्शलाइजेशन को या उसकी प्रैक्टिकल इम्प्लीकेशन को समझते हैं। तो आखिर में मैं फिर सबूर सेठी साहब का बहुत शुक्रिया अदा करूंगा। उनकी यूनिवर्सिटी ने लीड ली है और मैं ये समझता हूँ ये अभी बिल्कुल समझिए हम क्वालिटी की तरफ हमने पहला कदम रखा है, लेकिन अगर बाकी लोग, मैं यहाँ देख रहा था कि यहाँ पर मुझे नम्स के लोग भी नजर आए हैं, यहाँ पर मुझे कादम यूनिवर्सिटी के लोग भी नजर आए हैं, यहाँ पर मुझे सरकारी यूनिवर्सिटियों के लोग भी नजर आए हैं। 200 से ज्यादा लोग एक प्लेटफॉर्म पे जमा है। अगर इस तरह हम सारे अपनी लर्निंग्स शेयर करना शुरू कर दें तो हम एक दूसरे से सीख कर बहुत आगे जा सकते हैं। तो ये बहुत अच्छा स्टार्ट था। आई रियली अप्रिशिएट एफर्ट ऑफ डॉक्टर मोहम्मद नुमान हबीब एज वेल एज डॉक्टर सैयद मिनहाजुल हसन साहब। थैंक यू वेरी मच, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Thank you very much, sir. Honored for
Dr.
your...
Saab, Noman, if I just want to add something. चौधरी साहब, आपने बहुत एक ज़रूरी चीज़ अपनी आपने बहुत सी बातें बताई। ऑब्वियसली टेक्निकल में एकेडमिक बात से हट के एक बात करूँगा। जो आपने एटीट्यूड की बात की, आई थिंक दिस इज अ फंडामेंटल। इट्स वेरी इजी टू फ्लाई इन द एयर बट वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू वॉक ऑन द ग्राउंड। ये एक अंग्रेजी का बड़ा अच्छा मुहावरा है। मैं हमेशा अपने हर जगह पे यही एम्फेसिस करता हूँ, आवर एक्ट्स मस्ट बी लाउडर देन आवर वर्ड्स। जब टीचर क्लास टाइम पे जाएगा तो ये लर्निंग है। टीचर खुद सफाई का ख्याल रखेगा, टीचर खुद अपने ड्रेस कोड का ख्याल रखेगा, टीचर खुद अपनी जुबान का ख्याल रखेगा, तो खुद यही चीजें ट्रांसमिट करेंगी स्टूडेंट्स को। इट्स नॉट अ रॉकेट साइंस एंड आई वुड लाइक टू कंक्लूड विद वन फंडामेंटल थिंग जो कि प्योरली मैंने कहीं पढ़ी नहीं, लेकिन जो थोड़ा मेरा 20-25 साल का तालीमी इदारों के साथ ताल्लुक है, तो इसके अगर कहीं ये रिकॉर्ड हो सकती है बात तो कर ले। मैं काफी मीटिंग में भी कह चुका हूँ। द प्रायोरिटी नंबर 1 इज सेफ्टी एंड सिक्योरिटी, दैट इज ऑफ द इंस्टीट्यूशन, ऑफ इंडिविजुअल्स, ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स, ऑफ द बिल्डिंग। दूसरे नंबर पे आता है डिसिप्लिन। अगर आपके पास सेफ्टी सिक्योरिटी नहीं है, यू कैन नॉट अटेन डिसिप्लिन। डिसिप्लिन में आपके टाइमिंग्स आते हैं, हर चीज इन टाइम होनी चाहिए, जो प्लान है टाइमलाइंस मीट करनी चाहिए। तीसरे नंबर पे आता है आपका एकेडमिक्स। You cannot achieve academics unless you have discipline and safety and security of the building. अगर टीचर क्लास में पढ़ा रहे हैं, उसको ये डर है कि मेरी गाड़ी मोटरसाइकिल बाहर से गायब हो जाएगी, स्टूडेंट नहीं पढ़ सकेगा। So this is important. These are the, और उसके बाद फिर ये एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर एंड व्हाट नॉट। एटीट्यूड इज अ सीरियस थिंग। मैं यहाँ पर कुछ अर्सा पहले एक छोटी सी आपको एक अपने एक्सपीरियंस की बात बताऊंगा। दुबई में एक हमने छोटी सी अपना रिक्रूटमेंट कंपनी शुरू की थी अबाउट 10-12 साल पहले। एंड देयर वी रियलाइज्ड एन ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ द कंपनी वाज टू रिक्रूट स्टूडेंट्स ऑफ सिटी यूनिवर्सिटी ग्रेजुएट्स हो रहे थे तो यहाँ प्लेस करें। तो यहाँ पे जो हमें डिमांड्स आती थी, जो हमारी बड़ी कंपनीज क्लाइंट थी, कि दे वुड आस्क फॉर पीपल फ्रॉम फिलीपींस, फ्रॉम इंडिया, श्रीलंका, अपने रीजन की जो मैं बात करूँ, not because of technical skills, just because of attitude। क्योंकि यहाँ पर पाकिस्तानियों के साथ थोड़ा सा एक सीरियस इशू है and we have to take this on a war footing। ये जब तक ठीक नहीं होगा आगे नहीं चलेगी। So that's all from me and I hope that we all have learned something from each other। चौधरी साहब, आपकी बात इंस्पायर किया and thank you very much for having us on board and we have managed to get this workshop done। Thank you। Over to Numan।
Thank you very much, sir. And whatever has been stated, spoken by our prestigious guests of chief guest and our, I'll say, host of the event, Mr. Sabur Sethi Saab, it has been to the point and accurate. And I can assure Chaudhary Saab this thing that I have been a part of the City University family for more than 14 years now. And what I learned over here, Mr. Sabur Sethi Saab has never compromised on quality. It says no matter what happens, we will retain the quality, even if it means only one student in the classroom. So
Very good.
this is a commitment from our side, and quality cannot be attained internally. For that, we need external regulators and external bodies to guide us and give us the benchmarks as well. And to have these benchmarks, Quality Assurance Agency has been working tremendously and outstandingly in this element, and they have always been very supportive in providing us the guidelines, standards, benchmarks, and also ensuring that the quality parameters are met. We are honored to have a guest of honor, Mr. Nasir Shah Saab, who is a director and in charge of Quality Assurance Agency, Higher Education Commission of Pakistan. And right now he is with us. So would love to hear a few remarks from him in this regard. Or I'll say, Pakhair Rale sir, Yozul Biadera Manona Chita Sumung Sare. Sir, over to you, Nasir Shah Saab.
Dr. Naman, thank you very much. And all the audience and participants of this workshop, I congratulate to the organizer of this wonderful conference being organized by the City University, the private sector especially. But let me tell you that right now I'm at Lahore, in the Lahore School of Economics. So we have an activity here, kind of a similar activity where we have engaged 22 universities from in a group for 3 days, and more or less we are also discussing the internal as well as external quality assurance of the universities here at these 3 days workshop. Abdurrahman Saab has said so many things, and Sabul Sethi Saab has said, and I believe since I was not part of these sessions and previously because of my engagement, although I got an invitation from you, I'm grateful for that. But what I'm seeing is, what I see is encouraging is that the institution in Pakistan is learning from each other, is engaging each other, and is getting into networks, is developing kind of a network where they learn from each other. That's very encouraging for Higher Education Commission, especially because we believe that the universities have started realizing that it's not only the degrees that are given to the students, but they're realizing that no, we really need to make a difference, like not only awarding the degrees, but develop a student as a whole for the society as well as for the market. So these are really very good thoughts shared by Chaudhry Abdurrahman Saab and Sabur Sethi Saab and many others there, and the international participants there. So it's really very encouraging for us, and Higher Education Commission is always there for the sector. And let me also share with you that over these years, since 2005, when these standards and criterions and internal and external IP and self-assessment standards were developed, we realized over the years that perhaps these also need revision. So we have entered into an agreement with British Council and with an international partner of QAAC. So we have started revamping these quality framework of HEC, and hopefully a work plan has been developed, and many of the universities have been engaged in this process. And based on their feedback over these years, these self-assessment standards and these institutional performance evaluation standards and their quality code will be developed by the end of before the end of this year, around August or somewhere. So there will be a new framework of quality assurance because the world has changed, and because of the pandemic, we have learned so many new things. So we also need to revise our standards. So that's what we are doing. Once again, I'm grateful to the managers, the organizers, Mr. Dr. Noman, and all others for organizing such a wonderful conference. I wish you best of luck, and I see many more such engagements, networking in the future. Good luck to you. Thank you very much for inviting me to this this August meeting of learned people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your words. And we are looking forward to unprecedented. You are there or whenever you are in particular, need your guidance in this regard to improve our quality. Thank you very
Welcome.
Dr. Bassam Alhamad, you have been announced to be a showstopper of this workshop, and we are grateful to have you around. By the way, to all the participants who wants to get in touch with Dr. Bassam Alhamad, he will be visiting Pakistan for a workshop. I guess if I'm not wrong with the dates, 8th to 10th March, he would be in Sindh. So anyone who wants to get in contact with Dr. Bassam Alhamad and they want to catch him physically for discussion or any sort of assessment, he would be here. And I can assure that he would be more than happy to.
Dr. Bassam Alhamad, very well done. I really appreciate. Your presentation was excellent.
Thank you. Thank you.
And be my host in Lahore.
I was in Lahore, by the way, from 2 years back, but I didn't know that you will be there.
Come again, Lahoris are very hospitable.
Hey, I will come, sure. This time I'm going to Karachi or Khairpur, through Karachi.
You know, your presentation was very clear regarding PLOs, CLOs, and employability.
Great, thank you. And by the way, your speech was very clear. Like I could understand about 70% out of it through my, because I don't know Urdu too much.
Urdu is my national language. You know, I love Urdu. It is always easy to communicate your ideas in your own language.
Yes,
I would love to
I
speak
lived in Karachi for 4 years, and that's why I can get most of what you have said. Alhamdulillah, I'm still trying.
I appreciate you many times in my speech, you know. It revolves around your presentation.
No, actually, I understand most of what you have said about the matching between the employability skills, and then mentioned the graduate attributes and the skills. And then you also mentioned about the reversal idea of starting from the employer, but we need not to forget our standards. MashaAllah, your speech was awesome and summarizing all what you have said today. Thank you.
Thank you
with the permission of the chairman, Saab, I would request to close the workshop for me.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
To all of you for your presence.